as my tweets have said, hey, look at that, it's finally time for something other than video games for once. Talking about video games. But even still, how are you people? It's once again time for the Megiddo Ichi channel, where frankly speaking, nothing quite makes as much sense as me talking about things that basically just go into classic literature. With that, I also have a little bit of a guest if you're so inclined. Is what I would say if Discord would kind of sort of actually know what they're talking about, but even still. More or less just going, hey, look at that. You want to help me do a little bit of a thing? Is what I am mostly just going, hey, look at that. I know a certain somebody you should probably hit up at some point or another. Let me see if I can actually do the proper shoutout command this time around. Even still, what are we doing tonight? Basically, you know that funny thing that I like to play every now and then, Limbus Company, right? The only gacha game that has actually managed to have any sort of staying power with me. So, frankly speaking, that's more or less where we're at. And I have a certain somebody out here who would actually like to be a part of that, so if anything, let me see where they're at the moment.
Hello there, friends of the family.
Welcome to the family. How are you, though? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. My name is Nakia Infalme. I'm the former leader of my original group, my operation, if you will, my completely legal and above board operation, but I was ousted from that, and I'm looking to make a new pride. But right now, I'm with my dear friend Ichi to talk about some good ships, some great ships, and possibly some very terrible ones.
Exactly. If anything, my brain just mainly just goes, hey, if anything, this is a little bit of a departure from what I'm about, so frankly, I'm just here like, we're going to more or less dump our entire brain load into character dissection along the way is my immediate thought on it.
Yeah.
And of course, and of course, if it comes down to making fun of people getting a little bit antsy on Twitter, then frankly speaking, that's kind of just collateral damage.
We'll put Cromer and Sinclair in S tier just for them.
What do you mean? They ship Cromer and Sinclair anyway.
Two.
If anything, it's more just a matter of, hey, the thing of it is that the particular tier list we're working off of more or less just covers all of Project Moon, right down to the web novels. So if there's anything we don't necessarily understand or anything you don't know about, you're more than welcome to ask as we go along, chat. In any case, the best I can say is, hey, look at that. Essentially, that is that. But even still, is there anyone I should give a quick shout out to while we're going along? Probably just Kyo. But even still, if anything, I hope everything is treating you well at this juncture. It's what I would say if the funny exclamation point didn't just turn into a 1. Give me a second here. It would not be a collab without Scuff. Funnily enough, my entire week has been nothing but collabs, so, you know, it's definitely doing something right, but regardless. There you go. Make it make sense, please.
In the boss fight. We got. Oh, and it gave me a gold one. Okay, yeah, let's go. Get the fuck out of here. Let's go. 1,302.
There you go. If anything, I would say, hey, look at that. I hope you're still enjoying Hades, my guy. But regardless, I think the best thing we can do is just go ahead and get into it, see if we can set some ground rules, see where we go from there.
Sounds good to me.
If anything, best I can say for this chat is if you'd also like to submit music, you're more than welcome to do so. In fact, let me bring up the goddamn request board while I have a second here. There's definitely some leftover stuff that I think people would genuinely appreciate if I can make it go through properly. So, frankly speaking, you're gonna hear a lot of my funny takes about what I think of the people in this game, so be prepared for that. If anything... I'm sorry?
I said, uh-oh.
There. If anything, I would say, hey, right now we're working off a certain level of things. The thing goes directly from peak OTP to good ship, to friends, to family, to beating each other with hammers, mentorship, co-workers, one-sided. This is not good. This is I don't even know, and this more or less needs to go in the pit. So naturally, you're allowed to vote as you go along if you're familiar with the story, or if you just have context clues that you want to make sense in your head, you're welcome to that as well. For the record though, most characters are 18 plus. Anything related to Charon more or less will be put in super hell from me, but also considering certain spoilers for Leviathan, you can understand Malkia has a bit of a different take on it if you'd like to explain.
I would prefer to see, just because like of how weird a character Karen is, I'd prefer to see like pairing with her involved as just like Lapis, because pretty much more or less know for a fact that Lapis is an adult because like she's the same age as Garnet. But I guess it's not going to make that much of a difference either way because we don't have that much information on Lapis as a character in the first place.
Right. If anything, I could definitely explain as we're going into Virgilius ships, but at the same time, more or less, just the idea of it's a bit of an issue of, you know how mirror dimension IDs work? It's like that, except she more or less got the reverse of it.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, moving into the thing that immediately makes me go, what are you even talking about? Is Dante and Garnet from Leviathan over here, just making me go, this is technically just Virgilius's old co-worker. They were more or less together in the orphanage that he ran, and that's kind of just about it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm confused by this one.
If anything, I could definitely explain more about Dante's whole thing, considering, hey, look at that. Am I the person who voices him for this particular thing going on? I pretty much am. That's kind of the thing. I prefer to know what I'm talking about, because, you know, self-insert, but not really, and all of that.
You just like me, for real, for real.
Pretty much. He's getting a little bit better with, well, they are getting better. We don't even know their gender. In fact, I'm the person who headcanons that they are a distortion of the person who got killed in the Library on Ruina, but you know how it is. Personally, yes?
Sorry. I mean, it literally just happened in the intervallo that, like, as soon as the bamboo headed Kim got out, he fucking distorted. So
exactly,
it's actually not out of the question at all.
What's that? Legally, Carmen can't make you distort? Sounds accurate. Lawyer up, everybody. Beyond that, though, this immediately goes in whatever tier, because it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's not offensive either.
Yeah, no, it's kind of whatever for me as well.
And then we immediately go into possibly offensive, because here's Dante and Dongrong for some reason.
Hate this.
It doesn't make any sense. Why are you here? The world's biggest bootlicker versus world's biggest I'm here because, frankly speaking, I have an agenda to push. Which is, I just want to figure out what the heck happened to me.
Yeah,
personally, it really is just a case of you more or less existed in the same space for all of 2 days.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything between these two whatsoever.
I don't know nothing from this, but that sounds like some Kojima shit that in this some shit Kojima smoked. What, Dongrong? If anything, I think he's actually based on a Korean philosopher that people do not like because of things that are a little bit above my pay grade. I think it has to do with farm logic, but still. All I know is based on Malkia's take, what are you even about? Beyond that, though, we do also have Dante and Demian, and this kinda makes a little bit more sense.
I mean, they've had a longer interaction than Dong, I gotta say.
The question, I guess the question is, do you think Demian's
Interactions with Dante are like in good faith out of like genuine desire to protect Dante, or is he like fucking with him like everybody else?
Honestly,
Personally, I'll go for it.
Personally, I think it's a little bit of column A, column B. On one hand, I know Demian more or less exists for the sake of Sinclair and all of that, but at the same time, apparently he's got high expectations of Dante. Or at least just going, hey, I exist in the Cain Instinct dimension, so I want you to do some things here for me, which is to say, not enough has been explained about what he's about.
Okay. In that case, I might put him in like one-sided potentially.
Fair enough.
Like super generous.
Not necessarily romantic, but at the same time, like I said, it's an agenda that he's following, which is to say, everybody wants to use Dante in some regard.
Everybody wants a piece of the clock.
Speaking of which, hey, look, it's Herman, which is to say, hey, what if I told... What is the joke that was made? World's worst single mother that doesn't actually... Wait, world's first single father that doesn't actually have children is also a woman. Needless to say, she's kind of the primary antagonist of the game, which is to say, you know, what if we took Yi Sang's mirror technology and used it to destroy every possibility in every world, which is apparently what N-Corp's goal is, and I don't understand it personally.
Honestly, me neither.
And then, of course, there's just me going, the clockhead may be useful in that regard, but at the same time, what does she get out of it?
Honestly, I don't feel like we've seen enough of Herman in general to like make any like strong assertions one way or the other. We just know that she was a huge dick to Gregor, and she basically gaslit him into becoming a killing machine.
Right. I feel like that's G-Corp in a nutshell, but at the same time, it's especially worse considering that Gregor sees Herman as a mother figure. Personally, I'm not even sure that they're related in anything. I'm pretty sure she just more or less put that roach arm on him.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure that's like the extent of their relationship.
If anything,
yeah. Sorry.
If anything, given my thoughts on her, more or less just existing and go, you are the antithesis of everything we're trying to do, so I kind of want to put her in beating each other with hammers to here.
That sounds about right.
It's literally pro-tag and-tag energy. There's nothing here.
Like,
next, yes.
It's like the interpretation of like the fanon interpretation of Cloud and Sephiroth versus the actual interpretation of Cloud and Sephiroth.
It's like the fanon interpretation of Ragnan Teremi and Blaze Boost, something only I know about. Alright, then next we have Dante and the Indigo Elder, which is to say, why?
Okay. I'm gonna co-op your stream a little bit to complain about the Indigo Elder, if you don't mind.
Fair enough.
So the Indigo Elder is possibly like the worst color we've run into so far. Like, in Limbus Company, maybe worse than the Vermilion Cross, depending on like how you feel. But like, I can't stand this old man. He sucks. He sucks so bad. He exists solely to like fix a problem that didn't necessarily needed to be a problem in the first place. But that gets into like my problems with Canto V Part 1 and the fact that like the Sinners literally almost like turbo died due to fucking hair coupons. And
oh yeah, That is definitely a thing right there. As much as I'm over here thinking to myself the lore implications are great, I just fucking hate Ricardo.
He's just the old man from The Old Man and the Sea, which is like cool, like narratively speaking. I'm kind of a nerd for this kind of concept where everything's like a reference to a book. So it is cool to see like the Old Man and the Sea make an appearance from contemporary literature. But otherwise,
so what you're saying is he's the Old Man in the Sea minus.
Oop, you cut out for me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, my bitrate is having a bit of a moment. I don't know why. Could be that Discord is discordant, but life is like that sometimes. Like I said, basically my thoughts on it are just, I haven't read The Old Man in the Sea. I should do something about that, but also at the same time, I like the Indigo Elder for cool factor. He kind of just exists as a Deus Ex Machina.
Pretty much. Like, that's my biggest problem with him. He just kind of exists to get the sinners out of a situation that was kind of manufactured from whole cloth anyway. We didn't see Dante didn't make any mention of like Heathcliff disappearing for any length of time. We just find out later that he while we were dicking around in that club, he was like fucking collecting some hair coupons. And
it's also
sorry.
It's also very funny that that thing kind of just leads to finding out that Heathcliff is also a massive hater.
No, I will give. I'm as a big time hater myself. I will give him that in that it was extremely entertaining for Ricardo to be like, you know what, I can like what I like, and that's fine. It doesn't have to fucking impress you. And you know what? Just for that, I'm putting your name in the book twice.
He literally is just Korean Johnny Cage. You can't tell me otherwise.
God bless. I think every country needs at least one Johnny Cage as like mutually assured destruction.
True enough. But even still, this ship goes in whatever.
Yeah. I'm pretty much there as well. Whatever. Or hate this.
Mm-hmm. Now then, Dante and Rim is a thing that exists based on the idea of, hey, look at that, you're me, but different.
You know what? Peak OTP, just for like my desire to see two object heads try to kiss.
Alright then, I will immediately say to that. Honestly, it's just like Demian. They're part of the same faction, but we know nothing about them because, frankly speaking, Fishbowl Head hasn't really done anything for us yet. He kind of explained that the Golden Bow, and I'm sorry anybody out there who actually pronounces it bow, it's bow, doesn't actually exist in U-Corp's L-Corp branch anymore because the whale ate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he was like instrumental in like us being back on track in the fucking first place.
Right. Beyond that, though, he really hasn't done anything for us yet. It's more just a matter of we'll find out whether or not butterflies have anything related to Dante later. Beyond that, though, here's the immediate contentious one. Dante and Karen, which is to say, hey, look at that. Why, though?
No. Absolutely not.
There's nothing to say here. They quite literally have no interactions beyond I am the navigator's daughter and I drive the battle bus.
Burning super hell, yeah, no. This is like, even if they're like, this was like Lapis, this would have big fucking my boss's daughter to get back at him vibes, which just isn't like in Dante's character at all.
It's really not. I say this as somebody who has been dissecting Dante's character in my own head. The funny clock more or less exists to just go, I take as much punishment as I can for the sake of everybody else. What's the point of making the literal red gaze upset with me?
Like, I'm not pulling the trigger on that one. No.
And then, of course, based on that logic, since I have not played Intervallo 5-2 yet, can you explain to me what's going on with Dante and Kim?
There is nothing going on with Dante and Kim. Again, some of these like pairings are just frankly confusing. They don't even speak with each other.
Fair enough. more or less just going, maybe if it were Kim and Marcel, that would give me something to think about considering they're ID compatible, but at the same time, it makes no sense. Beyond that, though, we're finally actually getting into sinner-to-sinner communication, which is to say Dante and Yisong.
Oh? I would say... Hold on. I would say friends.
That makes sense. Honestly, I'm just over here like, they don't really interact too much considering Yisong is just a soft-spoken whatever it is, and frankly, that works for his character. It's mostly just a matter of when Canto IV actually hit, it was more just a matter of, hey, what's that massive hole in your heart? Is that where your friends are? Why don't I just fill that up for you real quick?
Yeah, no, I think before Canto IV, they would be like beating each other with hammers, because like, Yisong clearly fucking resented the fact that he had to continue to live, and he hated, he kind of like projected that onto Dante.
Right, if anything. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Yisong, before he basically got his awakening moment, more or less had no desire to be any part of this, and then Dong Baek happened.
And Dong Baek happened. Gee.
That fight really started filtering me, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Jeez.
And then, of course, here's the thing that makes a little bit more sense in my head. Dante and Faust.
I'd say good ship.
Mm-hmm. What do we know about these two? Faust is Dante's interpreter. She's the one who talks the most to him, more or less gives proper advice. If anything, she's managing the company herself, considering she also built the bus and all of that. Personally, it makes more sense in my head just off the idea of, hey, look at that, we have a mission to go to, and I gave you the thing. She's basically Dante's MASH, if I'm able to use an FGO reference.
Yeah, no, I kind of completely agree with that. I feel like she's like the first one, if not the only one. Like, though that's slowly starting to change as the centers like, actually no, she would be the first one, because I feel like the centers have grown to like appreciate Dante a little more as more than just their like reset button.
Right.
But she definitely was the first one to like treat him with respect and not condescend to him.
If anything, considering she more or less exists as Dante's communication tool with Virgilius, even though he kind of picks up on stuff little by little. Did I mention that Dante can only ever speak telepathically to the sinners? Anyone else has no idea what they're even saying.
Yeah, which makes the Dante and Virgilius one just extra funny.
They exist on vibes alone. If anything, it's more just a matter of, hey, look at that. If anything, I'm not saying it's my own bias because Faust is my favorite female sinner. It's more just a matter of why does this work? Because frankly speaking, they have the most interaction with each other.
Yeah, no, they synergize basically.
And then, of course, there's your girl, if you'd like to discuss your thoughts on Dawn.
Oh, God, I love Dawn so much. Dawn is, like, is such, like, a... People just like, oh, she's just stupid comic relief. It's so much more than that, guys. You don't understand. She's so, there's so much, like, that I've discovered about her simply by like looking into like the backgrounds of like, you know how the centers like decorate their egos have like pictures of what is essentially their rooms, like what's confirmed to be their like living quarters, and Dawn's there's like very interesting shit. Like I think question mark might connect her to Roland from Library of Runia. And like there's like potentiality in her being like there's so much potential in this character. It might be that because she's so like naive and like thick-headed that she's from a nest like Ishmael is.
Something. What if Spain was located in post-apocalyptic Denmark?
I mean, basically. And like it's pretty clear that her philosophy and her like thick-headedness specifically come from like deeply seated trauma in her past. Like this there's this theory that goes around there's this theory that goes around the community called like the Don is Sancho theory. Basically that Don is actually like Sancho Panza, and she took on the real Don Quixote's name to honor them, because like she respected that person so much, she wanted to like be the embodiment of justice, like so that they could live on through her. And as much as I like that, I think the one I've watched on to more recently is the idea that Don might be a pianist survivor. The pianist being the first initial like catalyst for like egos and distortions and like how they manifest in like Limbus Company.
Right. For anyone who lacks context, because I streamed Library of Ruina like 2-ish years ago, basically the pianist is what happened in regards to everybody just turning into human SCPs. The White Nights and Dark Days, also known as what if you go to hell before you die? More or less just like, the pianist was basically responsible for everybody just going, oh, it's getting real right now. People died, people literally fused to the piano itself. It got bad, really bad, and more or less ruined the protagonist of Ruinous life as a result. But at the same time, we'll get to Roland when he actually shows up on this. But at the same time, also, you going into your Don is Sancho theory in regards to this reminds me of a certain dichotomy that exists as a result of greater fate material. You're familiar with Iskander, right?
Iskander? Yes.
Yes. What about his sister? Because basically, the way I understand it, there is a certain character that exists in the Pretender class called Hephaestion, who is basically, what if I masqueraded as Alexander the Great to do all of his dirty work while he more or less becomes the great king that we all know him for, you know?
Right, exactly.
So it's a little bit like that in my head. It's basically just fulfilling Don Quixote's reputation while also more or less just being the world's biggest fixer simp.
Honestly, the fixer simpery is like kind of why I've like swapped over to the idea of her being a pianist survivor. It's like, if you saw like the Black Silence like fucking murder this absolute fucking monster, combined with like the kind of like mental illness that like the pianist's music just seems to inflict on people, I feel like that combined with like attaching herself to Roland would like make a lot of like sense, like narratively speaking. But yeah, to like going off on a tangent, to focus on this ship, I'd say it's a good ship. I think Don is kind of like that like boisterous like foil to Dante's like a little more like soft-spoken and like stern nature.
Basically, she is the person who's making lemonade out of all the lemons that Virgil gives us instead of actual pay.
Pretty much. Dante's eternal hype man.
Right. It's literally just to the point that in her mind, Dante has done nothing wrong and continues to do nothing wrong.
God bless.
Which is to say, hey, look at that. At least they've got one fan as a result of this, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, no.
Moving on, I immediately have a mind to just go and say this belongs in beating each other with hammers, considering Ryoshu more or less is the person who respects Dante the second least out of everybody on the bus.
100%.
Basically, it's just like, what is Ryoshu's deal? She's a sadist, she has a weird quirk of wanting to abbreviate everything that she says, and she's more or less existing in the mind that if I'm not able to make art, which is to say killing people in the most artistic way possible, then what is the point of the way I live? She's literally Ryoshi from Hellscreen.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking she was either the artist or the daughter of the artist, and somehow she just survived like being burned alive, and
Right.
like that like affected her so deeply. She just kind of fucking lost it.
It's also not helped by her 3-star chef ID in my head, considering the idea that she more or less subscribes to the idea of becoming. Okay, basically, she's the Sinner's Greta. Let's put it that way. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, imagine becoming such a huge cannibal that in your own ego, you are quite literally a two-mouthed shark. I'm not even making this up. The moment you fight Greta in Ruina is the moment, oh yes, I see. The streets of flavor exist to basically go, what if New Orleans wanted to eat brain, bone, everything that comes out of their human neighbors?
Hey, look, Greta looks sharp in that suit, though. I will say that.
You got to admit, Argalia does dress them well. But for real though,
But he has the drip.
I can't see them having anything going on with each other.
Yeah, absolutely not. They would beating each other with hammers, absolutely.
And of course, there is the odd duck out of this, Dante and Merceau.
You co-workers.
Literally just co-workers, considering the fact that Merceau, out of everybody on this bus, is just here for money. He's got nothing else going on. He will take orders. He doesn't really give advice. He doesn't give much of anything. The most he talked is in Hell's Chicken, where people were more or less asking him to taste food for him, and he gave a Gordon Ramsay mixed with Marco Pierre White level take of how badly did you fuck this up.
Speaking of Intervallo, in this latest Intervallo, Mercy gets like a surprising amount of like screen time. Not like a whole bunch, but like more than he usually does, and I think you'll love it, honestly.
Sounds
He's
about
so
right.
funny.
I'm gonna have to stream that Intervallo when Canto VI comes out. All I know for sure is that Merceau more or less exists in that mind of, yes, I am neurodivergent, not a minor, and I'm here just to be sure that I can afford my lifestyle after.
Pretty much.
And then after that, we have Olympus's resident baby girl, Hong Lu.
Oh man. One-sided.
One-sided. Yeah, that sounds accurate. Let's be honest here. Dante doesn't really care about Hong Lu in any regard, and whether or not his attitude is an act or not, which most people kind of feel like it might be, he's still kind of a twit.
I disagree. I think he's just kind of a mean girl. I don't think he's dumb. He's just kind of like whatever. He's kind of floating through life.
He's aloof to a fault. Let's put it that way.
Pretty much.
He's just here for the vibe. He's not necessarily taking anything seriously, which is kind of the problem that a lot of the sinners have with him.
Yeah, no, like it's funny because like there's such like horrific like there's so many like horrific implications of abuse in his like family history that all of this is literally just a vacation for him.
True enough. If anything, it's just of a mind of, I would have more information if I could, but expecting me to read Dream of the Red Chamber is like expecting most Japanese people to read The Tale of Genji. It's not going to happen.
Pretty much. But yeah, no, I fully expect as soon as we get to his canto, it's literally, we're going to show up at the Honglu family's corp, and they're going to be like, we're going to have to kill this guy, Honglu. And they're going to point at Dante, and Honglu is going to be like, damn, and he's going to distort and try to kill Dante.
I would actually like a Sinner boss fight, not going to lie.
I'm sure one's coming. If it's not Honglu, it's going to be Don.
Fair enough. And then they say, hey, what if we just reached into them and just pulled Carmen out?
God.
So, in this regard, you said one-sided, correct?
Actually, demote that to one whatever, because that would imply Honglu is like interested in Dante, and I don't think that's the case.
It's basically just a matter of I don't understand, and frankly speaking, I don't think they do either. Next, we have everybody's favorite British man, Heathcliff, which is to say, I have a lot of opinions about Heathcliff, the character, as a result of what he's been doing through Canto V up through Miracle in District 20. It's more just a matter of me having recently read Wuthering Heights. It's more just, hey, look at that. This man is kind of a bastard, but he's a bastard with a point.
I kind of... Okay, maybe I'm popular. I kind of fuck with this. And it's for one reason only. His attitude toward Dante has noticeably softened. And I actually, like, as someone who headcanons Heathcliff as bisexual, actually cute.
So what you're saying is, oops, male tsundere spotted.
Pretty much. That ass. I'd say either good ship or, like, friends.
Honestly, until I start seeing him actually enjoy being around Dante, I think it's going in friends tier, considering it's just like, they still bat heads, but it's mostly just, Heathcliff kind of just lives up his own ass sometimes, and that kind of causes people trouble.
True. Also, they still bat heads, huh?
Huh? What do you mean?
You did a little a funny misspeak there. They still bat heads.
Yeah, fair enough. I said the thing, let's go. Either way, you know who else bats heads with Heathcliff? Ishmael.
Oh, Super Hell.
Super Hell. Oh boy. Explain.
Oh, Ishmael and then Dante. I'd say friends. Maybe a good ship. It's another one of those things where I like the interactions they've been having recently, but there probably isn't like enough in its totality right now.
Right. If anything, considering the most we got out of her was 4.5 into Canto V, it's mostly just a matter of, the thing of it is that she was kind of disgusted with Dante for a good while and did her own thing. Like, you would expect her to distort faster than Dawn with the track record she had.
To be fair, though, let me go ahead and cut my defense on Ishmael's behavior. To Ishmael, Dante in that moment was no different from Ahab, because her defining for her Ahab's defining character trait was the fact that regardless of danger, she would make whatever decision suited her. And that's basically, Dante can't even like deny this, because that's basically what he was doing. It's like, I gotta figure out who the fuck I am, so you guys are gonna have to go wherever the fuck Virgilius says you have to go. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get over yourself. So
I can't make decisions. I've got the self-understanding of a 2-year-old, and I swear if this music is fake copyright, I'm gonna be mad. Chat, if you're so inclined, I would greatly appreciate a music request as we're talking, but for the moment, I need to go find something real quick. Please, tell me more about this take.
I think it's like possible. It's not like unimaginable, but like I think right now they're either sitting at like peak coworkers, mentorship, or friends.
If anything, it does make sense in my own head. It's more just a matter of, it's like Heathcliff. For this to work, I want to see more of what to expect.
Mm-hmm. Actually, mentorship makes the most sense, because she literally stated that like from here on in, like Dante is her compass.
So what you're saying is that Dante is now kid named Curiosity. And honestly, I think that works in that regard. It's mostly just a matter of, I am fool, I know nothing, and that's about what sums up Dante's immediate story so far.
No, he's a fool that knows something. He's getting there bit by bit. I'm proud, proud of them.
In any case, though, hey, do you like crime and punishment? And possibly massive breeds? It's time to talk about Rodeo.
This one's whatever.
Really now?
Like,
honestly,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that they're like friendly with each other. Rodeo has never been like rude or mean to Dante, but like it's like I wouldn't even call them like friends or co-workers necessarily. They have to occupy the same bus.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it does make a great deal of sense, considering it's just like, yeah, nothing's really happening here. It's more just that Rhodey is nice to everybody.
Yeah, no, she's the team mom, so.
Also, oh man, I missed a whole freaking lot. If anything, Noir, the immediate takeaway is that you gotta understand that Faust and Dante make sense of the ship, and so does Faust and Don. I'm sorry, Dante and Don, my bad. And then, of course, in Malkia's mind, what if Heathcliff was the bisexual POC man that we all need? You know, off the idea that Heathcliff may or may not be Indian.
God, please, I'm starving to death.
The book implies it. Let's put it that way. I mean, literally, as I was listening to the book, it quite literally says that they have no idea who Heathcliff even is, who he belongs to, what race. They just go. In the idea of placating him against people who hate him because he's poor, we're just going to call him a crossbreed between an Asian woman and an Indian man, and we're going to go off of that.
God, Jesus Christ. Good old contemporary writing, not very well known for its like tact.
True enough. To be fair, they quite literally called Emily Bronte an affront against God for the way she was writing that.
Jesus Christ.
And lo and behold, even after her death, it's still considered contemporary literature, you know? Also, but Otis better be up there next to Don. Oh, buddy, I have news for you, but we'll get to that when we get to that. More importantly, right now, Rhodia goes in whatever tier for basically just, this is how I treat everybody. Beyond that, though, Dante and Sinclair immediately makes me want to go in the mentorship. Not necessarily for the fact that one is teaching the other, more that they're kind of just learning together, especially considering... Malkia, how familiar are you with Jujutsu Kaisen?
I binged the 2 seasons that are that exist in like a couple of days.
Okay, then you'll understand when I say Sinclair is the Megumi Fushiguro of the Project Moon universe.
I don't know about that.
More just on...
Oh, sorry.
More just the idea of everybody memes about him being potential man. We don't see a whole lot of what's going on. Unfortunately, Sinclair does not stay strapped the way Megumi immediately wants to summon Maharaga the moment things stop going his way, but even still.
Thank you for that caveat. That was kind of what it's like. I don't know. Sinclair doesn't try to nuke a city block every time he feels like he's losing. He's actually a pretty good sport about it.
The thing of it is that he does definitely have a little bit of a dark side going on to him, to the point that the fact that what happens in Canto 3 pushes him so far to the edge that he's quite literally turning murder hobo on the spot. It's just immediately peters out because he actually does have a support group. And that support group is Don, immediately punching him unconscious to basically stop him pissing himself with fear.
Speaking of, I hope to God Dawn loses her mind so that Sinclair can return the favor and just beat her ass.
True enough. You gotta understand, this... When we get to Sinclair and Dawn, I imagine there's gonna be a little bit of a debate.
Maybe. I'd like to see where we come to it when we get to it.
I've always seen Sinclair like Dante's little brother. Exactly, you get my point in that regard. It's mostly just a matter of, I don't have to teach you anything for you to learn. You're already learning. You are quite literally a Silver Spoon Trust Fund kid who fucked it up because you had a toxic ex.
But yeah, I put it in mentorship.
Well, then, there you go. And now for Dante and Otis. And oh boy, this is basically just
Beating each other.
I was going to put it in super hell, but you're right. It's not necessarily the fact that they can't make it work. It's that Otis hates Dante's guts with a burning passion.
She fucking despises him, and like honestly, maybe you're right that burning and super hell is more apt, because like beating each other with hammers implies they would meet each other on an even playing field. Otis would come up behind him with a hammer and just like clock him.
Literally, Otis quite literally says Dante actually managed to impress her once, which immediately threw out the rub that she actually respected Dante on some level to begin with.
Pretty much. Her bootlicking is purely fucking functional. It will get her. Mm-hmm.
She's the 50-year-old middle manager who's upset that everyone younger keeps getting promoted.
Pretty much.
How dare you two? I've done the reading. You gotta understand. Right. You gotta understand, reading comprehension is important in the Project Moon universe.
Exactly, and you gotta know that fucking Odysseus is a petty ass bitch, and absolutely.
Yeah, that is a good point. Where do you think the name Otis comes from? Quite literally, soloing a Cyclops so badly that the moment other Cyclopses come along, they immediately say, "Who did this to you?" And then the Polyphemus is just like, "No one did this to me." I like how you're upset. That's how we know that this tier list is going good. In the meantime, though, I want to believe that Dante and Gregor is a little bit above Dante and Rhodia in terms of relation, considering the fact that he's not necessarily on good terms with other sinners, but he does treat Dante well.
They're friends. I'd say they're friends.
Mm-hmm. They're bonding over the fact that nobody really treats them nicely. And even that, I think Gregor and Faust at least get along. But at the same time, we'll get to that when we get to that. Dante and Virgilius, though.
You're so valid, and I respect that. Like, this gives you the brain happy. I'm just saying that, like, realistically, that was how I'm approaching Otis and Dante's relationship, occult and stuff. Realistically, Otis would poison his food.
I understand that you have things for the postmenopausal gun sword lady, but at the same time, please understand. She feels nothing for Dante. She quite literally just wants their job. But I'm glad you put my bro TP up there. Please understand. It's not a matter of up in the air. It's more a matter of, hey, look at that. They actually have been good friends since day one.
Pretty much. Like, they had a little, like, antagonism towards each other, but, like, it literally passed.
You could say later. You could say it's like the famous song sung by Gregor, Pass On. But for real though, Dante and Virgilius is a little bit of a... I don't even know how to place this. My brain goes immediately, this is what it's like to have a supervisor.
Yeah, mentorship.
Nothing that fertility pills can't fix. You know what? I am genuinely of a mind of, I'm just going to have to put the funny picture in the middle of this, aren't I?
You're gonna get put in horny jail.
Wait, what?
I said someone's gonna get put in horny jail.
You think me as a VTuber doesn't immediately open the gates to horny jail? If anything, we have to be the warden, and they're not paying me for it.
You know what? That's fair enough.
And then I immediately open social media and I see Yi Song in the funny rabbit hole outfit, and I think, yeah, that sounds about accurate.
Goodness.
But for real though, if we're putting them in mentorship tier, that kind of makes sense, considering it's just like, ah yes, I am the sad man from Todd McFarlane's Spawn, just going, could you maybe not fuck up for half a second so I can get my daughter back?
Virgilius reminds me of the relationship, and this is going to be a kind of fucking out-of-pocket comparison, so bear with me, of the relationship from Jimmy Hopkins from Bully, the fucking drunk homeless guy in the back of the school.
Wow.
And that he doesn't really respect Jimmy or like him, but he does like see potential in him, and it's like he helps him not really because he's like a nice guy, but because he's kind of self-serving. And in Virgilius's case, is obviously it's because he wants his daughter unbrainwashed.
In fact, it's basically why he's there to begin with. Faust quite literally said, hey, look at that. If you help us find the golden boughs, we'll basically restore Lapis for you.
But yeah, I don't like Virgilius. I know I sympathize with his goals, but God, is he pissing me off.
Okay, then fair enough. I understand on that level. I like Virgilius just on the idea that he's kind of the enigmatic, why are you here guy, and it's just, on one level, I know that's not much, but at the same time, me over here liking Faust because she's Faust, not because she's Dr. Faust, and just going, yeah, that sums up how I feel about it. Oh, it's like me being a fan of Skahawk and FGO. She's kind of nothing, but at the same time, she's the one made for me.
God bless.
So in that regard, it's just like, you are nothing. You are just the teacher at a school in a shonen anime who's just there for the training arc. And now we get into Charon ships, which is to say, the majority of these make no sense in the first place.
Honestly.
If anything, Charon and Yistong immediately go in super hell for me, but explain this from a perspective of Lapis as we go, if you feel like it.
They're not even from the same district, and like, Yisong seems to be like S-Corp seems to be like a special brand of like autism, because the only time I've seen Yisong interact positively and people not want him to shut the fuck up is when he interacted with Angu and to claim their flesh in the latest intervalo. So I just find that extremely funny. So burning in super hell is fine. Maybe whatever.
So what you're saying is, one has the Fortnite autism, the other has the stem cell, the STEM major CEO with 25 autism.
Basically, yeah.
And then, of course, there's Charon and Garnet, which is super hell for two reasons. One, because tangentially, he's kind of the reason she turned into Charon in the first place, and the other one is that they're basically brother and sister.
I feel like there's enough ambiguity about their relationship in the orphanage. Maybe I haven't really finished Leviathan, so that could be like the missing perspective I have. But I feel like there might be enough ambiguity to say they were like friends in the orphanage and they were like close. But otherwise, yeah, I'd agree.
Fair enough. Burning in super hell / whatever.
Whatever.
I mean, ain't Virgilius and all trying to kill Charon? Not necessarily for, it's less about trying to murder Charon, more in the matter of Charon exists as a alternate personality of his daughter, so it's more or less just trying to put things back in the way they were.
Or I guess you could put them in family.
Family.
You have a section for family.
Charon and Faust is whatever tier, but also hear me out on this. I feel like Faust more or less is the adult version of Charon.
Interesting.
In the same way that they kind of act the same way, in the sense that they only more or less care about what gets them to their ideal faster, which is to say, ah yes, mermaid flavored ice cream, my favorite. If anything, there's not really a lot to go off of in terms of this admittedly on the spot headcanon. It's more just a matter of there's a certain vibe that I get from the silver hair and the dark clothes and the I don't really smile a lot vibe.
Right.
So realistically, it's whatever with the potential to become mentorship.
It's like, I see potential in you, little driving child.
If any, and then we get over to Don Quixote and Charon, which is to say they drive the battle bus together, possibly crashing into the local deli.
Absolutely. 100%.
They're literally Cocomelon babies.
Oh my god. Yeah.
They're both incredibly sassy. It's vroom vroom till the end. Honestly, it does make a lot of sense considering the fact that if not for, I feel like Dawn pissing off Virgilius no matter what she does, I think she and Charon would actually get along. Beyond that though, what even is Charon and Ryoshu though?
No.
Yeah, that's about right. I have a thing for this, and I think you know what it is, Chad.
No, unacceptable.
Blocked, reported, sent to super hell.
Basically. There is nothing good here. At best, Ryoshu is a bad influence. On the other, there is a restraining order. And then, of course, like Faust, Merceau is like Charon in the fact that they really just don't care.
Mentorship, maybe.
Basically, this is a crack ship. We're putting them together based on the idea that, frankly speaking, they could more or less just rob a bank together and no one would say anything about it.
Like, yeah, that tracks.
And then, Hong Lu and Charon more or less exist as we could be the bank if we choose to be. Which is to say, it's demonstrably whatever because neither of them actually care about anything. It's a vacation for Hong Lu, and more or less somebody's gonna buy me ice cream at the end of this anyway for Charon.
Pretty much. Either Honglu's gonna buy her the ice cream, or Virgilius is gonna buy her the ice cream after he kills Honglu for
Basically.
encouraging God the steroid.
Also, Faust is basically Charon's mom because Charon is Mephi's brother.
Huh. Interesting.
I could understand that on some level. I mean, she does kind of have a bit of a psychological connection with the boss. However you want to describe it, it's basically... Would you call it... My brain immediately wants to go to all these trashy TLC shows, but at the same time, you know how it is. All I know is, hey, look at that. The funny thing about it is, you could put Charon and Heathcliff in beating each other with hammers tier because, frankly speaking, she and Virgil both take the piss out of him.
Pretty much.
It's quite literally canon, to the point that in Miracle in District 20, it's just like, ah, yes, you gotta get ready for Kathy, don't you? They don't respect him at all.
In so many words, he basically calls him a simp. I hate Virgil so much. He just bullies these people. And I'm just like, how do you expect us to sympathize with your ass?
The rumor come out is the red gaze quite literally just upset. Also, I feel like Ryoshu and Charon would be an incredibly good ship because they're both insanely bloodthirsty. Here's the thing about it though. I don't personally subscribe to it because unlike Ryoshu and, say, Sinclair, Charon is mentally unfit to actually work with adults.
She got baby brain.
Mm-hmm. If it were Lapis, I could see it working out. The difference is that wherever Lapis is, she's definitely not right here.
And I feel like Lapis wasn't really like billed as like a sociopath.
No, she was just an orphan. And then, of course, orphan to trust fund kid communication. What do we say about Charon and Ishmael? Because I don't think they interact much.
Friends, because I do actually remember the scene in Canto V where fucking Ishmael drifted the fucking boat, and Charon was so fucking impressed.
Well,
So
alright then.
So either mentorship or friends.
He's looking at Ishmael like Jesus Christ, shredding for our shins.
That's the Sinners who are mentally unfit to be working with Charon. Both can be true.
This is not a mutually exclusive statement. I'm gonna be weird with you. I look at Rhodia and just think to myself, she would just mother the shit out of Charon.
Honestly. Mom, family.
Family. Family. Family. Also, where's the ultimate ship? Dante and the Doctor. I mean, does that make Ami a Faust, or is that no territory?
Honestly, that's just another divorce waiting to happen, because, like, if, goddamn, I'm blanking on her name. If, what's-her-face couldn't take him, then what makes you think Dante would?
I broke up with my ex-wife. Here's her number. Psych, that's the
Okay.
wrong number. Virgilius is Amia. Fair enough, I forgot. They quite literally did an April Fool's thing where they turned Virgilius into a rabbit girl, and I find that funny. You see? And then they turned him into a horse. And then my brain immediately goes to that one shit post about Faust, and it's just like, why are you like this? Now, like Heathcliff, I feel like Charon would just spend her entire day bullying Sinclair.
Yeah, no, this is like the Cain instinct post all over again.
It's the Cain instinct.
I feel like the Abel instinct. And that instinct is my sister with a pillow.
Honestly, not gonna lie, I would make an entire tier just for Cain instinct.
Honestly. Just like pairings that would just be bullying.
Basically. Also, where did it go? Oh wait, never mind. We just put it over here. There. No, you're not beating each other with hammers. You're beating each other up with soccer boppers. Alright then, let's see here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Otis gives me big eat your peas, Professor energy. It's mostly just a matter of the bootlicker is also a military mom, so of course she's gonna be that way with her. How is that any better? You don't get blunt force trauma from soccer boppers. I'm sorry, Malkia, you still there?
I am. I was being called.
But yeah, going into my own thought on this, I have to say that frankly speaking, there's not much going on between these two. They barely interact, if not for the fact that she also wants to drive the ship, because she's quite literally Odysseus, but at the same time, it's whatever. Not unless you ain't determined enough. Honestly, I don't think that Charon would waste a second breath on Sinclair. It's mostly just, you stinky boy. You over here, you got so much money, but you don't do anything with it because you're scared. And then Sinclair, being Sinclair, just goes, I have wet cat energy. I don't really want to engage.
Like, I don't know what to say to that, so I won't.
I mean, to be fair, people are kind of just going off on a twit about, what is it called? Literary? What is it? I had the term. Help me out here, chat. What is the term that I'm thinking of? Media comprehension. There we go. I'm pretty sure Sinclair is completely broke after being groomed. I hate that. I hate that term. You leave the grooming room alone. I'm staggering at the thought. But for real though, it's mostly just a matter of there's nothing going on between them, but at the same time, they could be brother and sister. Mostly just off the idea that this is how the brothers and sisters act work with each other in the most toxic way.
More or less.
As for Charon and Gregor, I think they would just be co-workers, because frankly, there's not really much going on there. He does get upset when she calls him a roach man. Also calls him out for more or less saying more than he has to. Honestly, there's not much to say. They interact early on, but at the same time, they don't really do much else.
Pretty much. I don't really have more to add than that.
Charon and Yuri, though. Which is to say, hey, look at that. Rest in peace, Yuri. Wait, no, that's not the button. That's never the button. There we go. I can't do my funny pour one out for a real one thing with my funny soundboard, but even still, my brain immediately wants to go... friends?
Friend/mentorship, like...
You don't understand. I need you to drive the bus correctly. Read the map, woman.
The Sisyphean task of getting Karen not to fucking just drive through fucking uncut underbrush.
Basically. When they had people screaming in the trailer, that's not because the city is burning, that's because Charon keeps running people over. Charon did not care after Yuri died. True, but she doesn't care about anything. It's more a matter of that she was there in the immediacy of things, you know? It was 100% one-sided from Yuri's end. I could say the same thing about a certain ship, but we'll get to that. I don't know, what do you think? Should we put it in friends or one-sided here?
I think either works. It really just depends on how you look at it. If you're just looking at the totality of their interactions, they only had one interaction before she died. I'm just kind of like, to be fair to Yuri, just kind of like peering into like a potential future. It's like, I feel like she would like grow to tolerate Yuri.
Which one? Krumer? No, it's related. It's still related to Yuri, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I hate Cromer. She ugly as fuck.
A test of your reflexes.
Honestly, I feel as though Cromer could immediately get a glow up if she got a better hairline, but at the same time, we all know how we feel about N-Corp Faust, so...
Y'all need to leave my girl Cromer alone. I love her ugly ass bangs.
In the meantime, hey, look at that. Charon and Virgilius, immediate super hell. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If we really must explain, imagine having your daughter ripped away from you and replaced with a, like I said, a cocomelon baby. And then, of course, there's this guy who I don't remember because I have not gotten to read Leviathan, and I never will because it got pulled, but you know how it is.
That's Denver. She's one of Virgilius's co-workers.
So what you're saying is literally this entire lineup before Roland goes up to co-worker.
Pretty much peak co-workers. Like, I don't think these guys have like, if Virgilius died the next day, they'd say, damn, that fucking sucks. That was a color too, so who are gonna fucking get to replace him? How are we gonna get the money we normally get?
We literally just lost the Vermilion Cross, so what happens next?
Pretty much.
I mean, true, I did stop on Garnet for a reason, considering I'm of the opinion Virgilius helped raise the man.
Yeah, that'd be family, absolutely.
Once again, you go directly next to Charon and Garnet on the same time. They're literally family, exactly. Now, I do know this for certain, and frankly speaking, it's basically canon at this point. Virgilius and Roland have worked together.
Oh, have they?
Mm-hmm. Like,
beating each other with hammers.
This is peak Leviathan spoilers, but on some level, I'm pretty sure they do respect each other.
Oh, do they? Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Roland also appears in the end of Leviathan. Exactly. It's more just a matter of... It's more just a matter of... going to yourself and going, what would happen if Virgil and Roland met each other during Roland's rampage of the city because of Angelica, and it's more just a matter of, would you lose? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, no, interesting. Because, like, I'm thinking of, like, where Roland is at the end of Runa, and where he is before. I think, like, before Runa, fucking Roland would probably fucking hate Virgilius. Because that was kind of like Roland's whole thing, confronting the hypocrisy of, like, not really giving a shit about other people's struggles, but then going on this entire, like, revenge mission to, like, murder Angela because of, like, what happened to his wife.
Pretty much. It's just, yes, world's strongest wife guy has to encounter the idea of not having a wife anymore. It's, honestly, it reminds me of people talking about Kiji brother in Don Brothers. It's just like, the man is such a little bitch that, frankly speaking, he turns into a kaijin multiple times in the show just off the idea of how much he loves his wife. And what do we do during the reception of the Black Silence? Man quite literally distorts. So in other words, my brain is between friends and coworkers.
I'd say friends. I think they would bond over their, like, shared grief.
All right, then, if anything, they're both holding the recorders going dun 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 dun. Also, I need to find a new background track. I cannot believe it. Let's see. You know what? Oh gee, that's a follow from 4. I'm glad that my unmitigated brain rot is entertaining you on this level. Thank you so much for joining our legion.
Thank you!
Let's see here. I have Your Sunset, or I could play... What's his name? What's the neat freak's name? I can't remember. Purple? Yes, so there we go. I am John Limbus. I feel it. I too am Spartacus. Moving on, let's see here. What do we have here? Ah, yes, that's also superhero. Super hell.
Oh my god.
I believe in purple MILF propaganda, but at the same time, Virgilius and Iori are quite literally on site with each other.
Understandably.
Personally, it's just a matter of, hey, look at that. What do you do when you get out of jail? I'm going to unleash Tomeri on the city for no real reason and immediately crush all of Virgilius's adopted children.
Oops.
Can you make an entirely new tier for those two? You know what? I'll humor that. Let's see. What do you get when you mix red and purple? And then, of course, there's me just looking at Virgilius and Gubo, and it's just like, you're an antagonist. What's the point? You're stopping this man from getting his family back, so beating each other with hammers?
Beating each other with hammers.
Brown. That famous ice cream color brown? Let's see. There is no brown. There is no meme. You're supposed to be gray. Alright, then there we go. What's this guy's name? Siegfried?
Yes, Siegfried. Orange something.
Mm-hmm. Where's his best friend Roy, though? Whoa. Sorry. Either way, it's just a matter of they more or less cooperate with each other when it comes down to it, but at the same time, it's more just a matter of, I think Virgilius is just...
Yeah, it's so one-sided. Virgilius fucking hates this guy.
Which is ironic, considering this is basically Don Quixote's Oshi.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's why he hates Don Quixote so much, to be honest.
And then Don Quixote got killed by him, so what does that say? And
He
then...
was pretty jazzed about it, actually.
Also, Siegfried from Fate Apocrypha. Another wife guy, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Beyond that, though... Red and blue.
Absolutely not. They're whatever. I wouldn't even consider them coworkers.
Fair enough.
Fucking Virgilius regarded Indigo Elder with the same gravity one would regard someone bringing milk when they didn't say they were going out for milk. It's like, oh, you brought the milk. Cool.
Did you get the cereal, though?
Oh, hey, Indigo Elder. Didn't think they'd come back with you. That's weird.
Well, if it isn't one singular blowjob, brother. Either way, it goes in whatever. Now, Virgilius and Yong, though. I'm of two schools of thoughts with this, considering on one hand, in normal interaction, it's quite literally either just whatever or coworkers, but at the same time, as a result of him building the glass mirror, Lapis more or less died, so...
It's actually a good point.
Honestly... Go ahead.
I'd say whatever.
Move on, whatever. Virgilius and Faust kind of have potential at the very least. It's more just a matter of, yes, you there, sad man. My name is I don't care what your name is, woman, and I'm going to offer you the opportunity of a lifetime. And then
Roland and Angela too.
Basically. Except this time, she doesn't threaten him with turning into human popcorn. So basically, it's just peak coworkers.
Peak coworkers, yeah.
They have no problems with each other aside from the fact that for some reason, Faust has chronic malaise, and that's kind of funny. Did I say malaise? I mean fatigue. Yes. If anything, thank you for giving me the potential to make this happen, because frankly speaking, plot rivals seems to be where they sit.
More or less, yeah.
It's just like, hey, look at that ugly little blonde thing. Why don't you more or less do your job correctly? Because not only did you fuck up 3 times, you more or less exist to irk this man to death.
Pretty much. She's literally wearing the merch of the woman that killed his entire fucking found family. So
basically,
just doesn't like her by default.
By the very virtue that this woman is a fixer simp, Virgilius hates everything that she is. So in other words, if by the time that her Canto comes up and she actually starts stepping to Virgil, it's going to be very fun to watch.
God.
I can't wait for her to snap like a Twix bar. I want to believe that by virtue of them more or less just kind of killing each other on sight when she starts acting up, Ryoshu could be in super hell, but at the same time, I lean more towards whatever.
I'm more of a beating each other with hammers. I feel like given, like, without the contract of fucking Ryoshu would just, like, take every opportunity to try and kill this man.
Sounds about right. It's not even for the fact that she doesn't like him. It's more for the fact of this would be excellent art.
Pretty much.
And then, of course, me over here looking at Virgil and Merceau just going, once again, this is just another coworker relationship. If anything, of the 13 sinners, I feel like Merceau offends Virgilius the least, because he doesn't talk.
He's tolerable.
Pretty much. You go right next to Faust and we just go, the rumor come out, is Virgil by? We don't know and we're not gonna find out because Hong Lu isn't giving anything either.
I'm just gonna say hate that.
What?
I'm just gonna say hate that.
Wait, you hate Virgil and Hong Lu being a thing?
Yeah, no, it's just like... excluding the fact that there's no, like, in-games chemistry, just, like, imagining these two as a couple is, like, the most horrifying thing.
You gotta understand, it's 2000s old man Yuri, where nothing about this actually makes sense except fetishization. So in other words, it goes and hate this because frankly speaking, it makes no sense and it's bad. And then of course, there's Virgilius and Heathcliff, and it goes straight into beating each other with hammers.
Pretty much.
It's
another
just,
person who, like, given the opportunity, would absolutely fucking take this man's head off.
But at the same time, I think he's more scared of Virgilius than straight up wants to murder him, but even still.
Pretty much, yeah, no.
Okay, Ben. Given how she acted in Canto 4.5 to 5 with Virgilius, I'm kind of a mind of it could either be beating each other with hammers or mentorship, depending on how you want to look at it. It's definitely a case of Ishmael is the one with the straightest, with the tightest head on her shoulders of the entire company.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, getting chewed out by him, more or less because nobody's actually willing to listen to what she's saying as the person who knows the most about U-Corp, kinda sort of just makes me think she would harpoon him on sight if it came to it.
That and Virgilius does not fucking like Ishmael, and that becomes, like, pretty, like, glaringly clear in the Intervallo, because, like, now that she's done with her, like, personal drama, like, Ishmael's a lot more inquisitive, and she's not really, like, averse to voicing her confusion, and fucking Virgilius is fucking sick of it.
Ah, yes. We got a free thinker in the company. We're gonna have to do something about that. Alright then, in that case, hammer tier, right?
Hammer tier, absolutely.
And then, of course, there's the fact that Rhodia really just wants food.
Rodion, actually, the funny thing I find the thing I find funny about Rodion is, like, at one point, she basically straight up threatened Virgilius. It was during Canto V, where they were basically having to deal with, like, going through a storm, and, like, Virgilius is like, do whatever you want, I'm not helping, I don't give a shit. And Rodion was just so fucking pissed with him. Just like, Are you a color for any, like, real reasons, or are you just a fucking fraud?
I can't believe it. The fraud detector exists in Crime and Punishment, lady.
And Heathcliff and Dodd were just like, don't do that. Please don't.
Alright then, and yet, in that case, it's yet another hammer tier, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
You will buy the chicken kebab, sir. I earned it. I literally committed Ocean's 25 for you. You will buy me food. And then, of course, there's Virgilius and Sinclair, which is to say, hey, look at that. What if I told you this is the same thing as the early 2000s abusive yaoi ship that, frankly speaking, was all the rage back then? I've seen Junjo Romantica. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, we can go ahead and basketball shoot that into hate this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so bootlicker versus here because it pays good.
Peak workers.
They do a little co-working. There's nothing here. There's nothing here for them. If anything, I imagine Virgilius might be ace, but I have no idea. And frankly speaking, it's irrelevant to the story anyway. And then lastly, we have Virgilius and Gregor, which is to say, Canonically, Gregor smells bad, so I imagine he's not a big fan of it, no matter how mild-mannered he is. So based on that, I feel like it's whatever.
Yeah.
And then we finally get into something interesting. Yi Song and Song Yi.
Peak OTP.
We
need
what's
more
that?
of that self-love.
What's that? You should love yourself. Now.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's not even that hard to describe considering the fact of Mirror Dimension Yi Song quite literally is, how do I want to put this, essential to the growth of Yi Song's character, because it's just like, you heard the funny Fly My Wings song, of course it's gonna be like that, because he's the one with wings to begin with.
His mirror self is like, Fly's brother, I believe in you. And he was like, holy shit.
It's
You
basically,
believe in me? I believe in myself?
it's that one copy pasta of what should you get at McDonald's? Get the fries, Yi Song. You'll need them for the character development you'll go through this chapter.
Basically. Absolutely.
If anything, how can you love anybody if you don't love yourself? Which is to say, hey, look at that. I immediately want to put this ship in the wood chipper.
Oh my god.
It's quite literally to the point that Dongrong ruined his life.
Plot fucking rivals.
Well, alright then. You hear that, chat? You will not get your Farm Watch ID. I cannot say otherwise.
You are not worthy of Valhalla.
And then, of course, there's Yi Song and Don Bayek, which I want to say has potential, but is shot dead in the water.
Yeah, like in another world, perhaps, but she's quite frankly a little too mentally ill at this point. She's too far gone.
What do you mean mental? What do you mean mentally ill? She's just straight up ill.
That too.
And then she started a terrorist group to get back at Dongrong, and it's just like, yeah, sounds accurate.
And then Carmen said, "Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear."
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure she got an ego as a result.
Well, that's kind of the thing they talk about in Library of Runia. There's like a very thin line between Carmen is responsible for both of these anomalies. The difference is because, like, if you remember Xiao from the Liu Association, she also manifested her ego. Basically.
Right.
She didn't distort. Despite what Carmen was like whispering in her ear, she kind of like disagreed. And like I think that's the main difference between like distortion and ego. Distortion is to succumb to whatever ideology Carmen's trying to feed you, and manifesting your ego is basically, it's like, I hear what you're saying, I reject the fuck out of that.
Right. It's basically how Ahab is so dangerous, because not only is she able to manifest ego, her ego basically assimilates everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's like fucking Ahab is so fucking frightening, because she's the first ego I've seen that can just like assimilate weaker-willed people, and that's like that was like the whole thing. It's like
the moment you start hearing Pip cackling as he's being used as a blade for her harpoon, says everything you need to know about this woman.
absolutely, genuinely terrifying.
So, based on that, I want to believe it could work, but at the same time, not in the way that things are at the moment.
Pretty much. Good ship.
What if I told you the League of Nine was just everybody's neurodivergent science polycule? Which is to say, we literally know nothing about Yong, so what even?
Yeah, that's a whatever. I know we're kind of filling up the whatever tier, but
It's the fact that we have no information to go off of that makes the whatever tier so big, but even still. Which is to say, I'm almost of a mind of Yi Song and Rim, as they are right now, may or may not have anything going on. I'm pretty sure they were friends to begin with. It's like Rim was in the League of Nine as well, but even still.
Yeah, did Yisung make any comments as to like Rim's like presence? Because I don't remember him saying anything.
I think it was extremely light.
Yeah, so
It's like
one-sided,
meeting.
maybe.
It's like meeting your friend at the mixer and just going, I guess you're here. All right, then enjoy your drink.
It's like, hey, oh my god, it's been ages. It's like, yeah, hey, you?
In fact, let me see here. I almost feel like he's looking to the other side in his portrait next to Rim. And then, of course, there's Yisung and Gubo, which is to say, burning in hell.
Burning in super hell, absolutely. Holy shit. The most toxic relationship.
It's quite literally to the point that the fact that you can see Gubo's bright red shades burning a hole in his throat just says everything you need to know.
This man needed to be rescued from fucking Gubo.
Gubo looks at you and just goes, "You are rusticated." It's even worse considering that he's yet another League of Nine member, but I'm pretty sure as a result of Dongrong's betrayal, he just started working for N Corp, and it's just like, yes, the job that pays well, but you also get no rights.
More or less.
Personally, it's just a matter of I can't wait to see them do things. If anything, I'll be honest with you, I like Gubo's fit a lot, so much so that I considered looking into getting an outfit comm based on it, but at the same time, beyond that though, they have nothing else going on for themselves.
Pretty much. I like the literal impetus of like Yisang's like starting this journey was him choosing to leave the room that fucking Gubo just basically locked him away. It's like, waste away in here, you little cuckboy. You're broken now. You're no good to me.
I will remind you, they also kept this man barefoot, so what does that say?
Exactly.
You are here for science and for feet pics. You don't get anything else. Now beyond that, now speaking of anything else, Yisung and Kim is something I know nothing about.
It's nothing. This is a whatever tier automatically.
Move
Another
on.
just like, why is this here? They don't interact, so I don't know why whoever made this, like why they did that.
We have nothing to go on, and frankly speaking, you exist so that Merceau can have relevance again. Beyond that, though, you're telling me that Yisung and Ongdu have a lot going on for them, though, right?
I don't know if I'd say a lot, but it is like very interesting. The interaction they have, like, so Ongdu immediately picks up on like the way Yisung speaks, and immediately like chopping it up, start like chopping it up about like S Corp, and like apparently the conversation like continues for some minutes, and like it's clear, like literally it's clear to everybody that like Ongdu is kind of like attached herself to Yisung to the point that Rodion's like, oh yeah, no, I think we can leave all communications with this person to Yisung manager. And
so
Dante's like,
so what you're saying is it's Sephiroth looking at Cloud, trying to be the best soldier he can and going, such a puppy.
oh
So
no, I'd say it's a little more mutual than that.
Fair enough. In that case, it goes in friends tier.
Friends or good ship. Yeah, it could go either way, I think.
And it's going at the top of friends then. You see, Yisung can have things. We don't get them a lot, but it can be, which is to say, hey, I feel like Faust and Yisung more or less exist as the we met in physics class kind of ship.
Pretty much. Like, they're chemistry buddies. They're not necessarily like in a relationship.
Right. They see each other every now and then. Sometimes things get heated because they're both frustrated that the project isn't going well and they just need to blow off some steam. Why are you in the locker room together? What were you doing in the locker room together?
Science, mind your business.
It's science. It's research. Don't worry about it. And then you come away and see that Yisung has like 16 hickeys.
Jesus.
So in other words, it's a good ship. They're not romantic, but at the same time, it's Sung Wong Cho going, oh, they've fallen.
True.
Faust and Yi Sung are totally the it happened once, but it's not important. Basically, it's literally just if I had to go about it in any regard, it would just be for the sake of I need to blow off steam somehow.
Absolutely. If you asked either of them about it, they would tell you without any hesitation or like any like intrinsic shame, and they would just like return to whatever they were doing.
They were solving Rubik's Cubes together. Don't worry about it. In fact, you know what? Since you are here, Kali, I'm giving you a shout out. Considering my brother in Christ, I need to see what you're doing with Dragon's Dogma. Even still. Do you have clips? I would like to see them, but even still, you should give my man more clips. You should give me more clips too, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Either way. Also, yeah, just because I'm late, is that Yi Sung and Song Yi in OTP? Would you like to explain your logic to them, Malkia?
I'm just a big fan of self-love, okay? I think you should love yourself first and foremost before you love anybody else.
You should love yourself. Now.
Lightning eyes, you should love yourself now.
Moving along, Yi Sung and Don Quixote feels like a nothing burger.
Honestly, I feel like she would just stress him out.
He's literally just too high-strung for him. Also, Pluto, the toaster, hello, would you like to talk about funny gotcha people? Because frankly, that's been how we've been doing it this entire time. Yi-sung and Don are just buddies. They're co-workers. They do things together. One is Lemon Pledge and the other is Black Licorice.
My favorite food combination.
And frankly speaking, why are you stirring the Lemon Pledge with the Black Licorice? How does this tier list work? Basically, it goes off the idea of, based on what we can piece together from their literary inspirations, as well as the plot, as well as vibe, it will basically be if they're actually good for each other, friends, decent co-workers, or if they just go in the pit together. Which is why anything related to Charon is either friend tier or it's hell. You get me? Which is to say, hey, look at that. What's your opinion on Yi-sung and Ryoshu?
Oh god. Oh my god. No. Absolutely. Hate this because she would just be he would just be her next canvas.
Demi and Dante is definitely not one-sided. Not necessarily on the romantic sense. It's more just a matter of Demian has some level of need for Dante. There's something going on here that, frankly speaking, is just like, yes, I have plans for you. In the same way that Urizen and DMC5 just immediately grabbed Lady and Trish and started turning them into Monster of the Week enemies, you know?
Carnal plans? Who can say?
We'll find out when these two finally start doing something, you know? But at the same time, these two belong in hell. It's quite literally hell world the moment Ryoshu starts opening her mouth. Also, there's this theory where Dante was part of Demian's group of people before he started going. Honestly, on one level, I still subscribe to the idea that Dante is a high rank 7 association fixer that lost their memory, but at the same time, that's a good headcanon. I like the implication for sure. But then again,
Dante
that's also... Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead and finish.
But at the same time, that's mostly me just going, Dante and Rim, you are the same but different. Two sides of a different coin in the same way that Demi and Sinclair are that, but that's mostly just my personal take on it.
Also, Dante does have a moment during the intervallo that I think lends credence to your like distortion theory. So that's worth considering.
And then I'm immediately just going, hey, look at that. What if we gave Dante a bowl cut? Also, I'm glad you're of the same mind as me, Pluto, because Yi Sung and Merceau have the same energy of let's go to the club together and not actually dance.
Let's go to the club together, order some non-alcoholic beverages, and then complain about the noise and leave 30 minutes later.
You gotta understand, we're not at the strip club for girls. We're at the strip club because the bar is all you can eat. So in other words, literally peak co-workers.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yi Sung and Hong Lu feel like two sides of the same coin, if I'm gonna be honest with you, in the sense of, hey, one is depression and the other is repression.
One is shackled by lack of self-actualization, and one is shackled by like codependence and family.
Basically. It's just like, hey, look at that. What if you took the training wheels off of Hong Lu? What would he do? Probably distort on the spot. Also, Hong Lu is dumb and Yi Sung is smart. Honestly, I feel you. I don't think it's one-sided. I think it's more just a matter of if they started actually doing stuff together, it could be interesting. It's quite literally someone will die of fun. So in other words, in other words, I'm of the mind of they have the potential to be friends.
I could maybe see them being friends. We'd honestly have to see what happens in Hong Lu's Canto.
Also, why is Heart of Aspiration flying beside you? Oh, you don't know anything about Zero. Understandable. This is technically the mascot for the chat, if I'm going to be honest with you. If anything, there is a little bit of redeem for that. Let me see if I can get it to go. Oh wait, I don't have Mix It Up up. No wonder. It would explain a lot, but then again, my bitrate started acting up, so give me a brief second here to restart that. If anything, I really do want to have people use my redeems more, so if anything, you should suggest things that I can work on when I'm not streaming, chat, including you, Mohia.
You got it, Chief.
Let me see where it at. Where is my thing? Please understand, chat, I have so many things that work in the background, and I'm just asking for them to work. Let me see. Refresh. Yeah, that'll do. Get out of here. Thank you. If anything, Noir, you probably have the most points out of anybody. Use it to voice your opinion. Now then, Yi Sung and Heathcliff is basically, if Yi Sung had the energy to do anything, he'd probably just be throwing rocks at Heathcliff the entire adventure.
It's shut up, nerd, the ship.
Basically.
I'd say it's whatever. Or
apparently Pluto thinks it's burning in hell, which I'm not going to deny them that thought.
Fair enough.
Personally, I'm just of a mind of, it's definitely not to the point that this is so toxic that it can't exist in reality.
Altis is my wife.
That is true. Children everywhere claim the grandma. Honestly, they're honestly both the embodiments of depression. If not for the fact that Yi Sung is based on a writer rather than a book character, I could tell you for certain, but at the same time, it's more just a matter of Yi Sung really just hates farmers. Which is perfect considering what the heck is up with Dongrong then.
Call Yi Sung a jujutsu sorcerer because his domain expansion is self-embodiment of depression.
You get one of those. Also, Heathcliff hasn't gone depresso yet. He's depressed on the idea that he's not able to be with Kathy, which is essentially what started his hater arc in the book. Which is to say, hey, back in the old days of Wuthering Heights, it's just like, I'm going to marry a man for the money so I can take care of Heathcliff in the background. And it's just like, Heathcliff will remember that. And then he immediately disappeared himself for 3 years and he came back literally wanting nothing but chaos.
it's the Count of Monte Cristo, but 1,000 times pettier.
Exactly. And I know how uber-de-duper petty Edmond Dantes actually is. This is a man who will dig himself out of prison with a spoon just to kill the man who stole his wife. Also, Dante to Virgil. Would you lose Dante to Virgil to Dante? Nah, I'd ego spam. To be fair, his red gaze ego does look really good. I don't think he gets to use it that much. Nor does he want to. So, based on that, the chat would probably put them in hate this tier. I'm putting them in beating them with hammers tier. Beyond that, though, I'm immediately thinking to myself that this is basically just the sad boy mommy milkers ship, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Also, even more of a fraud than Sakana's. I'm going to assume that's the Vermilion Cross. Some names are lost on me. I do apologize if I don't know. Sakanas is Sukuna, fair enough. I don't know, the way the manga has been going, I think Gege really, really likes Sukuna. By the way, do you have the chat up?
Mortis. Oh, I do.
Well, gee, that is a Mortis out of 10 if I do say so myself. Thank you for understanding my point on this. Regardless, though, I am of a mind that this could be incredibly one-sided. Yi-sung and Rhodia right here, because honestly, Rhodia kind of feels like if it gets to a point that it becomes this bad, she will just drop Trowel, but I doubt it.
I would honestly, it feels like I would probably put it in family, because Rodion is like the caring mother type, and she probably does like, we don't really see it in the text itself, but she probably does like check out in on every center, because that's kind of her general role as like the democratic one who tries to like her and Gregor really kind of take up the role of like trying to keep the peace generally on the bus. So
I'm immediately thinking back to your comment about how them not being together is biphobia, and I'm just like, yeah, that I feel it. I'm going to talk about it when I get to that point. So in other words, family. In
the wise words of Vin Diesel, family.
Also, Rhodia would eat Yi-sung's food when he goes to the Wrath's room during dinner. Yet again, that's family. Why did you eat my fries off my plate when you didn't order them? Also, yeah, she has a nickname for everyone, same as Gregor, but hers are nicer and not just description, but she quite literally calls Don Quixote either Chiquita or Donkey, and I think that makes sense. Moving on, Yi-sung and Ishmael. Yet again, another STEM major ship that happened once, but at the same time they feel nothing about each other.
I'd say nerd friends.
Basic.
Ishmael's like gotten a lot more inquisitive, and she probably joins the little group huddle that Yi-sung and Faust have.
I'm just imagining Limbus the college years, and it's just like, why are you in the physics club, Ishmael? You're a business major. So based on that, they are basically just friends who are just like, I'm science, I'm curiosity. Together, we are annoying Virgil. The trio in RR3 made me hurt physically. Forgive me, I don't speak Ryoshu. These abbreviations kind of are a little bit lost on me. I apologize. Also, Pluto does feel as though it's a little one-sided, and I can definitely see that, but at the same time, I can't figure out which side that actually belongs on.
That's where I am. I don't really think it's like one-sided would imply one of them likes the other, and I don't really think Ishmael like thinks of
anyone on the bus in that way.
Oh, the Ahab trio. Well, I mean, if we are talking ID stories, I could kind of see it, but at the same time, if we're going off the idea of Ahab male and Yi Quad, they would be burning in hell together.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to be real with you. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, the ID does not necessarily make good for any ship whatsoever.
Not at all, but it sure is a great fucking
Fight composition.
True enough. What if I told you that the ship trio more or less exists as my favorite composition just off the idea of it's a bunch of angry sailors. What could go wrong?
Okay.
Moving on. Yi Sung and Sinclair just feels like whatever. They barely interact and they have that same wet cat energy, except one is a black cat and the other is a tabby, and frankly speaking, they don't like each other.
Pretty much. I wouldn't say dislike. I don't think Sinclair has the capacity to dislike anyone. Not even Ryoshu, the one who most frequently fucking bullies him.
We're gonna have to have a long discussion about that one, aren't we?
Well, it doesn't have the capacity to dislike anyone, save for Cromer.
Fair.
Obviously, but
It's basically just a matter of how hard have you wronged me, and does it have a lasting impression?
more or less. Because he was ready to throw hands with Ishmael if she was going to, like, fuck around and let someone die.
Basically. He's Paragon till death, let's put it that way. Which is to say, I guess they belong in coworkers tier?
Yeah, peak coworkers. They probably work decently well together.
And then, of course, Yisung and Otis, I'm ambivalent. I haven't slept yet today, and it's 10 a.m. Pluto, believe me when I say this, as a result of the spring weather coming in too quick, I have more or less been unable to sleep to the point that my Friday stream more or less resulted in me almost getting hearing damage solely off of lack of sleep. It's not great, and I feel you deeply.
Insomniachi.
Yeah, I'm on my insomnia arc. The cyborg mechanics don't let me sleep unless I wear myself out on purpose. Speaking of wearing yourself out, I feel like Otis is the kind of person who sees Espresso Depresso Yisong over here and just starts tugging his ear. Just put on a smile once in a while. You'll feel better. And that's not how that works.
I wouldn't even give it that much credit. Like, the way Otis feels about Yisong, how much of the boys have you seen, Ichi?
A few episodes.
Few episodes.
You're comparing it to the way Giancarlo talks about Homelander, aren't you?
No, actually, I'm specifically comparing it to the interaction that Queen Maeve has with Huey. They go to Queen Maeve to, like, get her help to, like, speak out against Homelander, and Queen Maeve looks at Huey. It's like, damn, you didn't tell me you were dating a twink. I'd split you like a piece of dry firewood.
Wow.
That line lives in my head rent-free, and that's absolutely how fucking Otis. I feel like that's exactly the relationship that Otis has with Yisang.
So what you're saying is it could happen once, but at the same time, why though?
Like, if it ever happened, she would disrespect the shit out of him.
Fair enough. It's flirting versus harassment, but the flirting is still harassment.
Flirting is just that.
In any case, I feel as though we can immediately put it in whatever for Yisung and Gregor, because do they really do anything together?
They do not.
Alright then, moving on to my favorite girl. Hey, look at that. Yisung, I'm sorry, Faust and Angela, this is just self-cessed.
Beating each other with hammers.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's quite literally, hey, look at that, I'm human and I act more like a machine, but the machine wants to be human, so what does that say about things? They would hate each other.
Like, especially based on my, like, my intuition that, like, Faust is somehow connected to Angela. I feel like as soon as they meet, she's gonna be like, "Oh, this bitch."
I can't believe it. What if the funny science lady was actually just... You know what? It would be extremely funny if a Canto for Faust came out and she's literally just a reincarnation of Ian.
Oh my god. Honestly, deal with the devil. Considering like the Faust's original narrative is like a deal with the devil, and basically that's it, Ion's whole thing, sticking L-Corp into a time loop until he can like figure out how to create these seeds of light. Is basically a giant fucking Faustian deal. So maybe.
And considering Angela's whole deal in L-Corp was basically being the devil that forces the Sephiroth to actually reach the end of the Tree of Light, that tells me one thing, that frankly speaking, these two don't belong with each other.
Ian is also an arrogant prick, so the fact that Faust also happens to be an arrogant prick.
Basically, it's basically just, you are arrogant, nobody likes you, but at the same time, you have a certain air about you that just gives me the certain level of, yes, this is fine. I could listen to her talk, and frankly speaking, that's about it. Hello, how is the shipping going? Would you like to guess? Would you like to guess as to why we put Dante and Faust in good ship? Honestly, I would say it's going pretty good. Everything here makes sense except for the fact that people really want to pair Charon with people on this, so I have no idea. If anything, Dante and Faust belong together because, frankly speaking, I look at it at Fate Grand Order logic. You have the partner character, but at the same time, they self-actualize on their own, which is to say, Dante kind of looks sideways at Faust the moment they say something. It's just like, I'm not going to say that to Virgilius. What are you on about? But Virgilius is the main waifu of Limbus, and yet Malkia hates him.
The worst. Stinky man.
The man has fraud detection written all over his face. And then, of course, looking at other toxicity, it's the girl who started the smoke war with Ian. Which is to say, I don't remember her name because this is Distortion Detective characters, and I'm going to look it up right now to see if I have any idea what I'm talking about. Let me see. Because I know for a fact that she basically runs the Ujat, which is a private military company within the city, so frankly, what does that tell you? Diaz, thank you for that. See, this is the thing about it that I wish more of the novels were available, because frankly speaking, Leviathan ended on a permanent hiatus. Wonderlab isn't available because frankly speaking, people do not know how to respect the author, and Distortion Detective is all over the place, but it's still the most canon considering Intervallo 5.5, you know?
Yeah. Man, I miss Wonderlab.
Also, gee, that's another follow from Astral. Thank you very much. Tell me how you want me to describe you.
Thank you!
By which I mean preferred name and pronouns, but you get me. Personally, I want to believe that if anything did happen between Faust and Diaz, it's quite literally squeezing her for information.
Do we need to make a new section called torture?
Astral Jack, he, him. Thank you very much. I'm going to put this below.
No, you don't actually have to make a new one. I was just joking.
Well, fair enough. I'm just over here thinking to myself, I think I have a funny way to describe this. Thirst for... You know what? Goods and services. That's what I'm going to call it.
Goods for services.
It's quite literally just, hey, I can be pragmatic once in a while. You are the person who more or less led to L-Corp becoming a wing in the first place, so you know what? Do you want Wonderlab archive and ad appeared. I mean, I'll take it if you really feel like it. On the other hand, I've seen enough of Wordsmith's summary of Wonderlab that I don't need to worry about it. I'm just over here thinking to myself, hey, look at that. These people got an L deal. Which is appropriate because they're a branch of L Corp.
Wonderlab is living proof that Ian hates cis people and non-binary people equally.
This is true. It's equal opportunity railroading. L plus ratio corp. Exactly. Alright, then where are we at right now? Faust and Herman, though.
Goods and services.
What's that? I'm going to sneak into Ellen Corp and I'm going to use my fat tits to make the old woman acquiesce? I think so. Also, Ian became a non-binary TikToker. Saying Dante is Ian is like saying X is Roland. I don't see it.
Honestly, if Dante is Ian, I will shit.
Oh gee, and that's also Pluto following me. Apparently I need to do more Limbus content if this is what people like, but even still.
Thank you!
This is the most followers I've gotten in forever. Thank you very much. Faust and Yuri, though, which is to say, yes, old women Yuri.
Old women Yuri.
Limbus brain rot equals profit. You see, this is the agenda I'm pushing. But Faust isn't old. It does not matter. She's fucking the old woman. That's how it works.
It involves an old woman. It's old woman Yuri.
Exactly. I have 330 plus hours. It's great, isn't it? Let me see. I'm trying to look up more Harlech's music. Chat, if you'd like to request any music while we're going along with this, feel free to put exclamation point request and a YouTube link in there. Only game music, if you'd be so kind. You know what? You're getting jazz. I can't find anything right now. You're getting more jazz. Now,
nothing wrong with a little jazz.
Considering Iori might be my favorite color aside from Roland, I think I'm inclined to put her pretty high, but at the same time, I want to say it might go into mentorship tier.
Mentorship, or I'm actually uncertain of the relationship Iori and Faust would have, because
Faust is not like really known for having much of a moral compass, so I don't really think she'd care about the murder of orphan children all that much.
It honestly just feels like if it fits my goals, I will do whatever. But at the same time, I don't think she would be out here for the sake of murdering children.
Right, exactly.
Roland isn't a color. What do you mean? Listen,
Yeah,
he's Funny Sandwich Man is Funny Sandwich Man. That is that, and this is this, and I will say what I want.
He's just a low grade fixer.
And then both Gebra and Bina are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? We can see right through you. Funny Sandwich Man neutral special summons his wife. Exactly. The man is such a wife guy that his stand is quite literally the woman he basically became the shadow of. Okay, then once again, the return of old women, Yuri. What do we say about Faust and Moses? Because personally, considering that apparently as a result of the Intervallo, Moses is doing contractor work for Limbus, I want to say goods and services tier again.
Yeah.
Not even for the sake of anything realistic, it's more just a matter of, hey, look at that, these are two of my favorite women in the series. I want them to kiss.
You know what? Fair enough.
Beyond that, though, Faust and Dawn.
Faust and Dawn.
Oof.
Honestly, I feel like Faust would kind of treat Dawn like a headache.
Yeah, that sounds right. Remember, everybody, she has chronic fatigue. What's the worst you could do? Literally put the lemon demon in front of her.
The most ADHD motherfucker on the bus. That would be one-sided, I think.
Pretty much. It's just like, hey, look, you know how to put in the codes for the mirror dungeon, right? Lemon Demon as in her hair. Look at her. Honestly, I feel like Don's favorite Neil Cicerega song would be Super Hey Ya 64. Not even for the fact that she's kind of got the opinion of it. She's kind of got the energy of a divorcee child, more just in the mind of this is just how it goes. Ultimate Showdown feels a little bit before her time, I'm gonna be honest with you. Actually, you know what, now that I think about it, she would be the kind of person who would start yelling Trogdor in the middle of a church, wouldn't she? Beyond that, though, chat, what's your opinion of Faust and Ryoshu? Because personally, I think Ryoshu doesn't really work with anybody who has the ability to think for themselves and actually back it up.
I feel like Faust would kind of see Ryoshi as beneath her.
Yeah, that genuinely fits. It's mostly just a matter of, hey, look, the starving artist is only starving because she refuses to eat food.
You know, I feel like Ryoshu kind of falls into the same class as Heathcliff. Ryoshu just opens her mouth less to contradict Faust, so she doesn't feel as as fucking primed to humiliate her like she does Heathcliff.
She immediately just says NC for no comment. Which is funny considering she almost always has a comment about something absolutely terrible.
Pretty much.
So in other words, you go above Yi-sung, but at the same time, you're not very good. Faust and Merceau, again, just feels like coworkers here. I want to believe if anything could be said about Marie, which, let's be real, I haven't read The Outsider yet. I want to, but at the same time, I only know a plot summary. I feel like if Merceau actually kind of sort of attached himself to Faust, they'd be downright unstoppable.
Yeah, I'd say other peak coworkers are a good ship. I feel like they would synergize pretty well with each other because like Mirceau is just the guy who takes orders, and Faust is someone who believes herself superior and probably is fine with giving orders.
It's peak supervillain and lackey energy.
Pretty much.
Alright then, based on that. Now, this may be a call out for Kali and his partner specifically, but at the same time, I'm just of a mind of, this is just goods and services tier.
I mean, I'd say that's consistent with the way they see it, so I don't think they would have that much of a problem with it.
I mean, yeah, it's mostly just a matter of, hey, look at that. What if the smart person and the person who is too smart to understand that being smart in the presence of the smartest character in the room is a good idea. And then you just go, ah, yes, I can be the stupid one who just jumps your bones for the sake of getting rid of your migraine. That's fine with me. So in other words, you go behind Moses. Why? Because frankly speaking, it's just good. Nothing about this actually has to belong to anything tier, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind me, I am just rearranging the playlist. Let's see. Faust and Heathcliff feels like burning in hell for the sake of... I feel like if it came down to it, it would get abusive on both sides.
Yeah, no, Faust would just belittle him until he got so fucking mad he takes a swing on her, and then Faust would stab the shit out of her.
Can we play Hyakugo Jiuchi? I'm gonna be honest with you, Pluto, I don't know what that is. I'm looking it up right now, just to be sure. If you'd like to elaborate further on this, feel free. Oh, it's another Neil song. I'm gonna be real with you. I try to avoid actual YouTube artists where I can. If it's remixes, it's perfectly fine, but at the same time, I try to keep it to game music because Twitch doesn't like when you do things that are creative. Beyond that, though, like we said before, this is just going to turn into abuse, mental and physical.
Pretty much.
And then, of course, there is everybody on Twitter's favorite ship, Faust Mail.
Ah, the girl best friends. I'd say I want to be a bit of a troll and say like good ship just for the sake of the aesthetic. But it would probably go into like more like friends, or like if we were going to be consistent, it would probably go into friends or mentorship.
Right. If anything, it's just like they will be good to each other in terms of actually working together and actually getting along, and we know this because apparently Ishmael has the most unspoken riz of any sinner.
Apparently.
But at the same time, I don't think Ishmael is going to try that hard for anybody, you know?
Well, there's never going to be another Queequeg, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? What if I told you that Ishmael was celibate because her actual girlfriend basically coagulated? And then, of course, there's just... I'm gonna be real with you, there's only two words that come to mind in regards to Faust and Rhodia, and the phrase is... symmetrical docking.
Symmetrical docking.
You know what I'm talking about.
I would say maybe one-sided, because I think Rodion seems to like Faust quite a bit. I think Faust actually likes her too, or she at least likes that Faust, that Rodion compliments her so much. But I think they quite have a positive relationship with each other. But like if it came down to a relationship, I do not think Faust would be putting anything in it. It would mostly just be Rodion.
So, it's not necessarily friends, but she appreciates the attention.
Yeah, basically.
Alright then, so... we already know, based on their N-Corp IDs, Faust and Yisung more or less exist to cuck the shit out of Cromer. But at the same time, are they actually good for each other?
Probably not. Sinclair, to me, is someone who seems to need, like validation from his partner. And I don't think Faust would be willing to reciprocate that, because it's like, that seems illogical. Why would Faust need to tell you that you're doing well when you should already know that you're doing well, because Faust has not scolded you?
Right. It's definitely a case of, if this were just about their N-Corp IDs, it could go into mentorship with a huge derogatory behind it, but at the same time, it's more just a matter of, on one hand, it's the white cat who makes all of the rules. On the other, it's the yellow-brown cat who, frankly speaking, just got here and doesn't understand anything and is scared. So, realistically, it would probably go in one-sided at best, probably just co-workers at worst.
Pretty much.
So that's where they sit. Faust and Otis feels like it has the potential to become goods and services, but at the same time, they would probably hate each other.
Like, yeah, no, I was about to say, probably beating each other with hammers. Like, Otis is like looking. I love how this is like universally agreed upon in the community, or more or less. But Otis is basically looking for a time to like flip the table and like steal the bus and go fucking home.
I'll make my own blackjack. I'm sorry, I'll make my own Limbus Company with blackjack and fertility pills. So based on that, Hammer's tier.
Pretty much.
And I'm still looking at Faust and Angela just like shake my head.
SMH my fucking head.
Now, I am under the impression Faust and Gregor do have an amicable relationship.
Yeah, I think they're friends. Generally, like, Faust seems to find herself impressed with Gregor's deduction skills, even if they are like basic. She's still like appreciative that she doesn't have to like explain stuff when Gregor like kind of spells it out.
Yes, it's just like, yes, hello, it's me, it's Gregor Samsa. I've been to war. I know how some of this actually works. So based on that, they go in friends tier.
Yep. She even calls him Herr Gregor, which I don't really think she does that for a lot of sinners. Like, refers to them by name.
Honorifics is a sign of respect. Also, hey, speaking of respect, it's a Canto VI raid. Right as we're talking about waifus, what's your opinion on Faust and Ishmael? As if I don't already have an opinion. Let me give you a shout out. Or rather, I don't have an idea. What were you up to, if I could ask? Was it more Stalker? Yes, it was.
There are 3 of the same person in my restaurant right now. There's another child. I don't have to... Can you count to 2? Because, like, 1 table.
1 table? 1 chicken? Hello, Proxy, by the way. I want you to look at these characters and go, which one is your favorite? Also, Faust and Ishmael is pretty solid. Most of my opinions involve Ryoshu or Otis. Oh boy, we're gonna have a lot of talk about Ryoshu and Otis then. We've already been talking about Ryoshu, and frankly, she belongs with nobody.
I'm gonna politely ask Kate not to be mad at me for my Ryoshu opinions.
You gotta understand, she's toxic with a capital T. There's nothing else that can be said about it.
I love her, but she's unlovable.
My favorite is probably Ryoshu, and Otis is my second close runner-up. That's good. You should come to my live reading of Hellscreen sometime. It probably will not happen unless people want that. Speaking of things that should not happen at all, Dawn and Siegfried.
Oh my god, absolutely not. The most parasocial relationship to ever fucking exist.
Remember, kids, when they talk about VTubers not engaging with their audiences for the sake of their mental health, this is what they mean. Why would anyone be with Siegfried?
True, Siegfried is such a fuckboy.
You gotta understand when I say this, Kate. Don Quixote, resident, I will glaze sinners even when they're doing shit that's literally against the creed of my understanding of sinners. Look at the Hook office, for example, and just go, yeah, this is fine. In other words, literally, it the burning abyss. And then there's Don and Ryoshu, which is to say, hey, if it isn't the bowl cut sisters.
I'd probably put it in one-sided because Siegfried is absolutely the type of guy to date a fan. But it would be completely like on one side. But Burning in Hell works too.
If anything, I will put it in one-sided because frankly, it's your girl, you get to decide.
Fair enough. I appreciate the deference.
It's just like, I will continue to talk about Faust till I die, so frankly speaking, you get the one that is your favorite.
Okay. I appreciate that. I'd say either friends or one-sided.
For Don and Ryoshu?
Yeah.
Alright, then that definitely works, because frankly speaking, I have no other way to compare these two. It's just like, on one hand, they could work in the same way that Dawn would be just another art piece for Ryoshu, but at the same time, I imagine they probably work pretty well together when they're cleaning up at W Corp.
Pretty much, like it's like Kate said in chat. Dawn desires justice. Ryoshu loves decapitation. They just happen to coincide with each other.
We can cut heads together for justice.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Dawn and Merceau, though, feels like hamster eating banana energy.
Man, this is actually kind of tough because I kind of put these guys in like several places in my mind.
Would you say it's another case of neurodivergent characters having potential, but at the same time, the narrative does not support it?
Pretty much. Like, I feel like intrinsically they work either like as friends or like as family on some little sister, big brother shit. Like, the Don was literally a middle little sister, and fucking with alongside Merso. So. Like, it feels like these two, like, very different spectrums of autism would absolutely, like, vibe with each other.
So it's basically Futaba and Yusuke in Persona.
Basically, yeah.
Alright, then in that case, it's family. For reasons I can best, like you just said, they're literally in the same rank in the middle.
Hold on, I saw this fucking art, and it basically is how I see the two of them.
What's that? Are you sending a thing?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. There it is. This is actually just how I see them in my brain.
Okay, I like that logic. Give me a second here. I'm putting that on the screen. If it decides that I'm allowed to put it on the screen, give me a brief second here to do. There we go. This is essentially what they've got going on for each other. It's basically just a case of, hey, look at that. I understand, but at the same time, I don't understand. If anything, let me see. There we go. Don has inherited the spirit of the samurai. But the blade lineage is Korean, though. Also, yeah. If anything, you should probably go look this artist up as well, if you get the chance, chat. I might have to later. Also, you're gonna bounce, have a good stream, and make sure to give Yoshu the lesbian hate 6 ranking she deserves. I will immediately defer to Malkia for that.
Absolutely, I'll see to it that it is done.
Speaking of... I want to say hetero Yuri. I have no idea what's going on with Lemonhead and
Straight Yuri.
Honestly, I want to believe that these two could work just off the idea of himbo-herbo communication, but at the same time, Honglu isn't a himbo.
He's just pretending to be one, and
incredible, they have both achieved formless jhana. Merceau is the kind of guy who literally goes to a club and does not have fun, according to the other people there, and it's just like, I had a good time, don't worry about it.
yeah, no, we'll just put them in whatever. It's like, I have no feelings about this. It just seems kind of dumb.
I am really going to have to look up a soundbite of Tommy Wiseau going, move on, whatever, by the end of this stream, I'm going to be honest with you.
Like, I don't even, like, know if they're friends, because Honglu, like, it feels like Honglu, like, is doing a bit, like, the whole time, and it feels like he really just doesn't really like or give a shit about the Sinners.
Honestly,
like,
that is how it feels. It's mostly just a matter of, this is my vacation, don't worry about it.
Pretty much. Like, literally, during the intervallo, we run into LCCA, and, the representative for LCCA basically just tears into us and calls us a bunch of stupid morons. And, like, Gregor's like, wow, fuck that lady. How dare she say that about us? And Honglu just, like, pops up, like, I don't think she said anything wrong there.
Really?
Just, like, casually sneak disses the entire fucking crew. And I'm just like, god damn. Mercy says the same. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Realistically, it's just, That one TFS movie where it's just like, as you can see, I must be the pretty one, and then Piccolo's just like, 7 out of 10, and he's just like, you sassy bitch.
Yeah, no, Mercy basically says the same thing. It's like, I actually appreciated that she was, like, being straightforward with it. But that's just Mercy expressing that being autistic is hard in a world of people who, like, say shit and don't mean it.
Basically.
He just appreciated, like, the open-faced honesty for a J.
Finally, somebody who actually says something.
I didn't have to read between the lines. That shit was actually great for me. But yeah. That's how it, like, that's the only reason I'm in, like, whatever with Honglu. It's mostly just because I don't trust him.
Also,
He doesn't
hey.
like anybody.
Also, hey, look, another Twitter take where it's basically just character that has gone through a lot of shit, but isn't really evil, and then Fanon just makes them a heartless asshole, and then immediately somebody replies with Heathcliff. It really does feel like that, especially after reading his book. It's just like, you gotta understand, he was kind of a product of his environment in the first place, and his environment was shit.
Yeah, I think the problem is, like, a couple of poor writing decisions have led to, like, to Heathcliff being viewed unfavorably. And I kind of get that because, God, was the hair coupons thing stupid. But at the same time, you gotta recognize that doesn't make sense for his character.
It really does not. I could see him being a kleptomaniac. On the other hand, I feel like he would just beat you half to death and take your money.
Pretty much. And, like, no project, you can't just, like, explain it afterwards. Like, I was doing it so I could get a haircut for cats. Like, shut up. No.
Yeah. You could say it as you're going along. Maybe... Even then, I'm over here just thinking to myself, do they not have hair salons on the sea? I think they should, considering quite literally Ricardo was just like, this is how I attain, like Kate said earlier, the formless jhana. It's literally his nirvana moment, and you stole it. That being said, lemon and hazelnut.
Friends.
Yeah, that does make sense. They kind of hate each other, but in the same way that's just like, hey, you kind of step on my whole flow.
Pretty much. Like, these guys were literally about to basically have a fight over anime.
Yeah.
and the Christmas miracle on 22nd.
You know what? Here's a good question. Do you think that Don would like Bleach for all of the Mexican influences in it? Or
Absolutely. Not only
rather,
that, she would... Oh, sorry.
Is that irrelevant because she's European Spanish?
Honestly, I think she'd just, like, get a kick out of Ichigo. Because, like, Ichigo, for all of, like, the shit people give him as, like, a quote-unquote edgy character, embodies a lot of that Don Quixote spirit that fucking Don likes. So I think she's just, like, really be into the whole protagonist who always does the right thing.
It's honestly kind of funny to me how you describe Ichigo as a quote-unquote edgy character, considering he's the least edgy of the big three.
Oh, absolutely. I just think it's funny that, like, the common misconception seems to be that he's, like, this huge, like, edgelord, which I've never seen.
And then in the Hell arc, what does he do? He's a stay-at-home dad who translates so he can be with his kids and his hot wife. Also, Kali out here, like, Don also literally caused an incident before Heathcliff did, because based on what Dante says, Heathcliff was ready to start swinging his bat out the refugees in K-Corp. It's because he wears black. Listen, just because you are literally a god of death does not mean anything about... doesn't mean anything about Edge. Look at Botan. She's literally the Grim Reaper in Shinto mythology, and yet she wears pink. Why? Because pink is the color of death in Japan. But me going on my Yu Yu Hakusho brain rot is for another thing. Ishmael and Don feels like...
Okay, so if we were to be consistent, this would go into the whatever tier or maybe the friends tier. Because like narratively, these characters have not fucking interacted. But because Ishidan is one of those pairings that like are like the circa 2000s Inosaku Yuri pairings that you just like got flooded with like AMVs about, even though they had no chemistry at all. Out of respect for that genre, and the woman it made me today, I'm putting them in peak OTP.
Fair enough. I was listening to that and I'm just thinking to myself, it goes in goods and services based on AO3 energy, but at the same time, I feel it. It's not for narrative reasons, it's because of the vibe they give. You put the yellow Skittle in with the orange Skittle in the pill box to make you feel good for taking your meds.
Exactly.
This is for my mental health.
Basically. Alright. Well, we already established that that Rhodia does have a particular appreciation for Dawn on some level, but at the same time, they're definitely not romantic.
Yes, and normally I would agree, but Callie sent me a picture that like fucking rotted the inside of my brain, and now I gotta see it. I gotta see it. To be honest.
I'm inclined to ask you to DM it to me, not in the stream chat.
It's SFW, so I can put it in the stream chat.
Fair enough. If anything, it's more just a matter of she particularly is very good at hitting the button that says, "Ah, yes, you could call me this any day." To which I
Like
say that's.
Oh, sorry.
Go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, under normal circumstances, I would actually agree with you. I'd probably put it in family tier just from the way she like treats her. But this is fucking right on the inside of my brain.
Honestly, you know what? Considering the way you're describing it to me, I think it could go in good ship.
Yeah. Everybody wants a mommy.
Everybody wants a mommy. Even, I'm pretty sure Virgilius wants a mommy, but I think he just wants to be put out of his misery more. In the meantime, though, hey, look at that. It's quite literally the community college kids. Honestly, I could see it working as a good ship, especially considering, funnily enough, the only interaction I see them having outside of the main story is, I think, Sinclair's Vi ID.
That's true. Yeah, no, I could see this as a good ship for like family. Could go in either.
Me and the bad bitch I pulled by being autistic. That's real. Honestly, that energy is definitely there, and I'm just thinking to myself, I feel as though I'm reminded of a certain video in which Dawn loses Uno because she couldn't actually count her cards correctly.
Sounds about right.
If anything, though, I'm kind of in between friends / good ship for Dawn and Sinclair because I feel like they balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I immediately think about Canto 3, where it just took literally beating the shit out of him to actually get him to go along with the plot.
Yeah, no, I would say like friends, family, or good ship is like are all valid ones.
And then we put him in goods and service. No. You can go in good ship just because there's not enough in here. And then there's Dawn and Otis, to which I say this is probably not hate this, but it's not good either.
Yeah, I think it's one-sided. I think Dawn seems to have like an immense respect and like respect for Otis and like values her like more than I think any sinner. Because like as soon as Otis started pulling the captain bullshit, she and Sinclair were immediately
at her side. And Claire, because he's like a pathetic little Mew Mew, but I think Don like genuinely like looks up to Otis. Like she, maybe it's her like fixer nose, but I think she like senses that Otis is like actually fucking big shot. And she fucked with it.
Now's your chance to be a big shot, she whispers in her ear. So yeah, based on that, I could see it being one-sided. It's definitely a case of what even is...
Batfish eats shredded cheese at 3 a.m.
Obviously Dawn. Or it could be Otis, actually, to more or less just go off the idea of this woman needs to be pregnant now, that the fandom agrees with. But at the same time, hey, look, it's Centris also coming to engage in our brain rot. How are you? Have you eaten breakfast yet? Better yet, have you eaten as well, Malkia?
I'm eating right now. I'm trying not to chew into the mic, so if I go silent, that's why.
Fair enough. It's just me engaging my inner Gambino, just going, are you eating, though? Now, for Don and Gregor, my brain immediately goes, one hand, I feel like Don appreciates him on some level, on the other... My brain just goes tired dad energy.
Pretty much. It was literally the interaction they had in Magic Hellbus. Don being sad. It's like, I thought we were going to have a vacation. Gregor's like, Don, we're not here for a vacation. We've been over this.
Also, thank you for providing background noise while I struggle with Korean recycling rules. Well, that's good, because the Project Moonverse is literally just the cyberpunk hellscape that is South Korea. Not to disparage where you're at, I hope you're enjoying your time there, but at the same time, it's a little bit truer than it has to be. Now, let's see here. Now getting into the toxic Yuri that Kate 6 has been asking for, Ryoshu and Merceau.
Oh my god, no.
I'm glad you agree. There is nothing here. Even for somebody who quite literally gives nothing but takes everything as Merceau, Ryoshu is just bad for him. Beyond that, though, Ryoshu and Hong Lu.
I'd say beating each other with hammers, but I feel like it's more one-sided than that.
The real question is, considering they're both Lu fixers, what would you say about that? Better yet, now that I think about it, that could be a potential for Merceau and Ryoshu to actually interact, but at the same time,
It seems like, actually like, as a Liu fixer, she interacts more with Rodion, Ishmael, and Rodion and Ishmael, just based on like the scenes I saw in the NFTs.
If only the game could actually let me roll something that I actually want. It's starting to feel a little bit more like that gacha game that I wish it wasn't, but at the same time, yeah, I do get what you mean. Beyond that, though, this feels like whatever, just on the idea that I feel like everybody kind of despises Hong Lu for being a rich kid, but at the same time, he's baby girl enough to get away with it.
Pretty much, yeah, whatever sounds fine. Wouldn't have killed each other, beating each other with hammers for Ryoshu and Heathcliff.
Yeah. They hate each other. Quite literally, their first interaction was them killing each other.
Exactly.
And then justice will prevail, says Don Quixote as she stabs Ryoshu in the back.
Fucking turns her head into paste.
Basically. Well, if it isn't this other sisters, I don't even know with Ryoshu and Ishmael. I feel like they would basically kind of just rip each other until one of them quite literally took one of their ribs, but I have no idea.
we unfortunately do not have a lesbian hate sex category. So,
I mean, that's goods and services. If it does not make sense except for the fact that it's hot, then frankly speaking, that's what that thing is.
goods and services it is then.
Also, Noir out here like, man, I'm so glad you chose Ishmael and John for OTP, because I've seen have some art together that makes me low-key ship them in my own way, in your own way. Honestly, I think it's more just a matter of me seeing the roleplay community for these people just go, yeah, I understand. If anything, it's just like I said before, you put the yellow Skittle next to the orange Skittle when you take your meds, and it all coalesces together in a way that feels good. Make sure you're drinking water, chat. Well, if it isn't realistically, I feel like Ryoshu and Rhodia is just inoffensive.
Yeah, it's whatever.
They make sense on a level of they don't really hate each other on a certain level, and then we get to pure contention.
I feel if we look into, I don't know if we're basing this off of like their relationships and their IDs, but I kind of like there's this weird respect Ryoshu has for like Rhodion's freakish strength. Because like in her Kurikumo Wakashu ID, she mentions like the only person who can like keep pace with her is Rodion. In her new Liu ID, she basically says she thought Rodion was like a useless loudmouth, but she fucking taught her how to fucking impale motherfuckers with her bare hands. So she kind of fucking likes her for that. So I actually think this would be
one-sided.
Yeah, maybe one-sided. I don't feel like Rodion has like feels any particular kind of way about Ryoshu, but I think Ryoshu kind of low-key fucks with Rodion.
It's an appreciation for what she can do rather than the person itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then peak contention, otherwise known as it's just Twitter. Which is to say, hey, look, I'm not gonna be real with you. On one level, this is basically a hate ship. On the other, the fact that this is proof of Sinclair's growth as a person to be able to understand Ryoshu on basically a mental level to the point that he can translate her abbreviations with 99% accuracy tells me that they at least work on some level.
I'm going to piss off a lot of Twitter people. I'm gonna say this is a good ship.
Yeah, honestly, it's just like the only reason that it does not work in people's minds is if you are under the impression that Heathcliff is a minor, which no.
So the thing about Sinclair and Ryoshu is, that I find interesting is that Ryoshu has never threatened Sinclair.
This is true.
She's been derisive and mocking of him when he wouldn't pick a side in the cooking challenge. She basically called him a little pussy boy, and he was like, "Okay, I'll pick your side then." Which Sinclair does not prove her wrong.
This is true. It's really just a case of, hey, look at that. If you had a little bit of a backbone, that would be great. But you gotta understand, Cromer stole part of his spine and turned it into a coin.
Pretty much, I wouldn't call her Cromer-esque. She's like a less abusive Cromer. I feel like I could see this working on some level.
Let's be honest here. Ryoshu is a sadist and a little bit of an abusive. She's not a Nazi though.
Yeah, we can say that about her. She's not inward corp bad.
Exactly. Oh, and corp with the hard R, is that what I just heard?
Exactly. Precisely.
Alrighty then. I do not know where to go with this. Let me see. I almost want to... You know what? I will leave the Kazuya music for when we get the Ryoshu, but even still, let me see. What else we got? I am trying to figure it out. Ryoshu and Otis feels like the most toxic Yuri you could get.
Absolutely. They'd fucking hate each other. Shit. Beating each other, probably.
I'm beating you I'm beating you in the street. Which is to say, hey, this is how I show my affection to you.
Exactly. Either that or take it to goods and services.
Yeah, that's about where it looks. It doesn't make sense, but on the same level, it still kind of does.
Who doesn't like a little slap kiss?
I feel as though Ryoshu and Gregor haven't really interacted with much outside of the fact that she does not respect him.
Pretty much.
If whatever. They work together, but they don't like each other.
I would just like put that in like a fucking I hate this. Because just like picturing the two together causes me mental distress.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel on some level if it were a different kind of game, Ryoshu would be throwing slurs at Gregor.
Absolutely.
Now moving on to my favorite male sinner. Merceau and Marie is immediately going into good shit because that's just canon of the book.
Absolutely.
You cannot tell me that the man is just like, yes, I'm going to die, but at least I can think of the girl I had sex with.
All you had to do was not fuck it up and not murder a man because the sun was irritating him. But, here we are.
Basically. What would you do if you found an unarmed Arab man in the street and the sun was hurting your eyes? It really is just a case of literature just getting whole ass. What are you even doing with it, isn't it?
It's so like, I know this is like, I don't want to piss off any L'Étranger fans, but like if you were to boil it down, it really is just the 4chan post. I am walking down the street. A youth mocks me from across the street. I turn to him and say, his words will not bother me because I am a stoic. He laughs at me and says it's pronounced stoic, not stoic. I shoot him 4 times in the chest.
Okay, then. I don't know who this is. I assume it's a random LCCA operative.
Oh, so this is the LCCA operative that we run into in the latest Intervala.
Understandable.
So this is going to be a hard one side.
My brain goes coworkers because Limbus, but
Yeah, I'd say coworkers are one-sided. Like, Merciu expressed appreciation that she is straightforward, and that's about it.
Wait, that's a she?
Yes.
Fair enough. Gender does not exist in this city. You gotta understand, I say the same thing to people.
Exactly. You gotta be careful with genders in Project Moon.
Why is there a woman named Ahab? Because frankly speaking, this isn't running off of pronouns, this is running off of where do they fit in literature.
Exactly.
Which is to say, hey, look, it's Orlando Furioso himself. Which frankly speaking, I don't get the correlation between Roland and Merceau.
They would probably get sick of each other real quick. Because, like, Roland at his heart is just like, he really is just some guy. Like, I know he gives the appearance of just some guy, but I think that's just, like, who he is as a person.
You gotta understand. You really do have to understand. Everything that Roland is more or less defined by Angelica.
Yeah, but, like, he like, goofs off and gets drunk with Netsack. And, like, that doesn't feel like an inauthentic thing. That doesn't feel like a thing he's doing, like, for his cover. I think, genuinely, more or less, Roland is just, like, a dude. He's tired. He's also, like, bloodthirsty with, like, rage for his dead wife. But, like, more than anything, I think he's just a tired old man. So, like, Merciu being, like, a tight ass would just, like, get on his nerves.
Right. If anything, I don't even think Merceau is a tight ass. It's more just a matter of Roland is too lax for him to deal with.
Pretty much. Well, like, I meant tight ass and like the idea of like he's an extremely strict, like by the book guy.
Right.
And like, I don't like if Roland were to go with him after work, he would not get drunk with him, and I don't think Roland would appreciate that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Merceau is the kind of guy who will literally watch paint dry if you suggest it to him.
Pretty much. And then comment on the consistency of the paint after X amount of time.
If anything, it works for him, but at the same time, it also makes him super antisocial appearing.
Pretty much.
Honestly, it's to the point that the man is quite literally, what's it called? Calling out the X's and O's that Shren is writing to her love interest in Canto IV, and Heathcliff's like, you don't have to say the rest of that. So based on that, I immediately am just going, it's whatever.
Yep. Just a big whatever.
Now, I know this doesn't make any sense on paper, but at the same time, I want to believe it's basing this on Merceau as Guido.
Maybe, and possibly just like the throwaway line Merceau made about like working for Incorp.
That is true, but I'm also thinking to myself, would he work for the Inquisition, though?
Absolutely not. I don't think... The problem with Merceau is he will not make distinctions or clarifications if something makes him look bad because he doesn't see any purpose in it. When Heathcliff was like, you worked for these fucking psychos? He didn't say, like, well, no, I worked for the administrative branch, not the fucking the Nazi N-word corp branch. Like,
exactly. You gotta understand, there's N-Corp and then there's N-Corp derogatory.
Exactly. So, like, what I think specifically Merceau did is he worked like a branch of N-Corp that was not the same as this at all.
Right.
Not necessarily meaning that he wouldn't like go ahead and commit genocide against people if he were asked to. I'm not really sure how like far Merceau's obedience goes, to be honest, but I think at the very least he hasn't done that, and he really just didn't care to clarify for Heathcliff because he doesn't respect Heathcliff or like him.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. The thing, basically, it's just a matter of you gotta trust him on his word that he wouldn't engage in propaganda.
Pretty much. So this burns in super hell.
Yeah. Honestly, I almost want to put it Merceau and Herman in the same category, but at the same time, it gives me fucking the boss's daughter energy.
Pretty much. Like, it's kind of outside his purview. I don't think he would ever be interested. I don't think Herman would ever be interested, so...
Right. It would... If either of them had any chemistry at all, it would go in goods and services, but for right now, it's kind of just whatever. Merceau and Hong Lu, though, also feels like whatever.
Either whatever or beating each other with hammers. I think, given that Merceau, well, a tentative beating each other with hammers, because like that would be like outside the scope of Merceau's job, and he wouldn't do that unless asked. But I feel like he readily would beat the shit out of Hong Lu if Dante said it was like a necessary job directive.
Right. If anything, I can't help but think to myself, if Hong Lu had a rose spanner ID, I feel like he would just mildly love tap him with his own hammer.
Because like Hong Lu is like Merceau has expressed that he likes people who speak clearly and don't fucking make him read between the lines. Hong Lu is basically antithetical to that.
Right. It's just like you and your perfect teeth and your money, and you're constantly saying cryptic nonsense that basically makes my job harder.
You kind of fucking suck. And, you know, if I weren't contractually obligated to work with you, I'd just stomp your face in.
Basically. And of course, it's perfect considering he has the perfected death myth, so he could do it if he wanted to. Now, we can say for certain Merceau and Heathcliff are just beating each other with rocks in the back of the bus, right?
Absolutely. Fucking,
It's literally a case of not even that Merceau would engage of his own accord. It's literally just Heathcliff being offended by him not actually offending him.
pretty much. Like, he would say, fucking, Heathcliff would say, fucking autism, derogatory, and Mercy would be like, I actually don't have autism, I have Asperger's. And then Heathcliff would say, shut the fuck up, nerd, and swing on him. And because he swung on him, he gave Mercy license to fucking gut check him.
Basically, and given the fact that this man is basically just... The man is wearing steel gauntlets, what do you expect?
Yeah, no. It would definitely wouldn't be Heathcliff's brightest conflict.
Right. Honestly, Merceau and Ishmael could work on a level of just, hey, look at that. I am the delivery boy from Shrek sending you to your actual future husband. But other than that, it's mostly just a matter of, hey, if it happens, it happens. I haven't seen the chemistry come to light.
I'd say it's like friends or peak coworkers.
True enough.
I think Ishmael probably appreciates that there's at least one sinner who isn't like a fucking psychopath or just like a complete moron.
If anything, it's just sometimes you really just need to shut up once in a while, and I think Ishmael respects that. Now, this is just the case of the two with the biggest hits in the room.
The two with the biggest hits in the room. True.
I'm not even kidding when I say this. I remember somebody just drawing them in a car together, basically just going bare chest, and it's just like, yes, I understand.
Just remember I'm just reminded of someone doing thing for that TikTok, but it's Don and Mercy. It's like Don is just looking up, it's like, why are your boobs so big?
I remember that. The rumor come out, is The Pacifier Vin Diesel's best movie? Probably not, but it's still funny.
It is definitely one of his funnier ones for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then based on this, I want to believe that they have the potential to be friends, but it's more just a matter of Rhodia doing all of the work.
Pretty much. So like peak coworkers or very low end friends.
Mm-hmm. And then, hey, look, if it isn't the Blowjob Brothers, honestly, there is no chemistry here. It's just very funny to see large man, small man.
I fuck with a mentorship. Like, probably not intentional, but I feel like Sinclair would ask him questions and he would answer them.
You know what this is? This is Danganronpa 1, in which Chihiro is looking at Mondo, just going, I want to learn how to be tough, just like you. And basically, it doesn't end like it does in that case where Mondo is offended by their ability to just kind of vibe with what they're about. So, yeah, this goes in mentorship for sure.
I got like PTSD flashbacks because every time, the last time Chihiro and Mondo got brought up from Danganronpa 1, I ended up leaving a server.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not fun having cis people tell you how you should react to certain characters. It's not. I'm not a fan of it.
The rumor come out, is literary analysis dead? No, why are we here then? Merceau and Otis. Feels like Merceau and Rhodia were derogatory. They'd look each other over in the shower and just walk away.
Pretty much.
Literally just whatever. Well, if it isn't... Okay, I'll stop. I feel like they have the potential to be friends, just on the idea that Gregor doesn't offend Merceau on a personal level.
Yeah, no, Gregor's like pretty friendly with everybody. Merso wouldn't get it because it's like not part of the job description, but he probably wouldn't hate it.
If anything,
The
it's just
one-sided.
one-sided works. I was going to say friends on the idea of, hey, this works and it helps me do my job. But even still, it probably is just the case of, hey, if it happens, it happens. But again, we haven't seen it yet. Okay. This belongs in hell, and I don't even remember this doofus's name.
Oh, the dead LCCP guy.
No, that's Hong Lu's older brother.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Rip.
I know, because he's wearing the blue jacket like Herman and Gubo.
Dipsy dipsy. I'm blind. I'm sorry.
We're all a little bit blind. This resolution is not helping either.
But yeah, the super hell immediately.
True enough. You go right next to Chroma.
Probably
Hong...
helped. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna be like, probably helped his granny abuse the shit out of this poor boy.
True enough. You just watched it and let this happen, didn't you? Also, let me see here. Hong Lu and Heathcliff feels like... This has prepped jock energy in the worst way.
Yeah, the Fujoshi and me says goods and services.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they fucking, but they hate each other.
Pretty much.
You see right there, it's not just all the women. It can be the men too. Which is to say, Hong Lu and Ishmael feels... I feel like they would just bond over their favorite brand of L'Oreal.
I'd say... See, Ishmael's hard because, after her Canto, it's kind of hard to gauge how she feels about other Sinners. She seems to be okay with Heathcliff. Like, they still fucking rib each other. But, she's mostly, like, friendly with Heathcliff. And, like, her and Aldous kind of have, like, this, like, friendship going on, too, which is interesting.
It's a little bit of, oh, Captain, my Captain.
Pretty much. Like, Aldous kind of, like, at the end, displayed a respect for Ishmael. But, like, there's nothing between them and Hong Lu, so I don't really know. Like, I don't think so. Probably just co-workers.
Yeah, that does make sense. They don't offend each other directly. It's mostly just a matter of they have nothing going on for each other.
Pretty much.
And then prep versus prep. If anything, once again, we haven't seen enough of them interact. It's more just a matter of Hong Lu probably just looks at Sinclair trauma dumping to the rest of the Sinners and just going, ah, I see. You also have that same problem.
Yeah, that's probably like a whatever.
Move on, whatever. The rumor come out. Does Rodion like pretty boys?
100% she likes pretty boys. Why do you think why do you think she loves Gregor?
Yeah, that's fair. Wait a minute, where did we put Rhodey and Gregor? Are we not there yet? Okay, then.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Okay, so based on that, I would say one-sided just on the idea that Rhodia would if she felt like it. Beyond that, though, Hong Lu and Otis just feels like peak disrespect. But again, that's mostly just a matter of Otis respects nobody.
Otis respects nobody. Angu doesn't really respect anybody in this bus, so it's just like a stalemate of like, fuck you. Like, you wish. Like, what fuck you say to me?
Basically, it's really just a case of, if it happened, but it's not going to be a thing that happens for any good reason. It's really just a case of Fan and Hong Lu existing for the Schmeat, but realistically, it doesn't happen. And then Hong Lu and Gregor, which is to say, I feel like they would shower together, but at the same time, nothing else.
Pretty much. Co-workers.
What a surprise. The Hong Lu, the one we know the least about, is the one in which everybody just kind of goes, eh. And then I go, Kathy, don't go to the supermarket today. Which is to say, this is a toxic ship.
Absolutely.
I know.
Running super hell.
It's quite literally to the point that Kathy is quite literally catching the vapors and her death off the idea of her throwing a massive tantrum over having to protect Heathcliff from her husband, of whom she married to protect Heathcliff from the struggles of the economy.
Deadass. You're the most jealous woman I know. You know other women?
Basically. And even then, it's not like Heathcliff couldn't find anybody for anybody else. It's the fact that she quite literally damned him off of the idea of, I'm going to marry someone else so I can take care of you, which is also just going, hey, you're not good enough for me to begin with, so you know.
It's like, rip, thanks. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. And then here he comes, swinging and missing, swinging and missing, swinging, and then he takes away her husband's sister. And what happens after that, frankly speaking, it's just like, do you like to live in hell world, silver spoon girl?
Absolutely fucking not. Burning in super hell.
Basically. Now, the thing I want to say in regards to Heathcliff and Ishmael is it could work in the same way that, frankly speaking, you know what, I'm just going to come out and say it. Ishmael with a strap feels like what this ship is.
I suppose. I don't know. That's not fair. They're definitely like in the frontier at this point. I'm just like, it makes me feel some type of way that you introduced this like big burly ass woman that Ishmael was obviously very close with, that has dark skin, and then you kill her, and then you have the person that like pulls her out, this dude. Like, I don't know. This makes me feel weird and gross, and I don't like it. It makes me feel worse knowing that there's an ID of this woman's dead girlfriend. And when you think about the lore and the fact that Dante makes the decision to have Sinners don specific IDs.
So what you're saying is they're friends, but the ship in of itself romantically does not work because bury your gaze energy.
Pretty much.
I can respect that. They belong in friends because, frankly speaking, cis-normativity is not that great. That being said, once in the bathroom just to get it out of the way.
Absolutely, she has rode this man into the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's totally not because of anything that matters. It's just stress. Also, give me one quick second here. There we go. I remember the thing I'm looking for. Because frankly speaking, I'm still on my Hilux nonsense. I like the funny guitar. Ah, yeah. Pith Baby versus Piss Baby. What do you say about that?
Honestly, actually, like, hear me out. Good ship, because there's kind of this like interesting thing going on with Sinclair and Heathcliff, where Heathcliff is like slowly kind of like growing more respect for Sinclair. It's one of those things where like it's probably not going to happen, but like I could see it.
Honestly, that kind of makes sense in that regard. It's mostly just a matter of, hey, look at that, we slightly burnt the cinnamon roll. What does that mean? It's that, let's be honest here, Sinclair was never a cinnamon roll to begin with.
Pretty much.
So, friends, co-workers, or mentorship?
I'd say friends. I'd say friends.
Alright then. If anything, it makes sense. If Heathcliff and Dawn can be friends. Heathcliff and Sinclair can be friends.
Absolutely.
And then this one is just burning in hell.
Pretty good hell, absolutely, yeah.
It's really no way to look at it. They hate each other's guts on the simple idea that their mental states do not align at all.
She fucking despises him, and he fucking despises her.
Exactly. Heathcliff and Gregor, I want to say, could get along. They definitely don't bat heads as often as the rest of them. It's more just a matter of Gregor is kind of too easygoing for that.
More or less, yeah.
Alrighty then. You could go in co-workers tier. And then, of course, hey, look at that. This is just plot rivals again. If not just straight up in the... You know what? I'll do you one better.
Uh-oh.
Are we good with that?
Sure, perfect.
It's literally the worst ship in the entire series.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree.
There's nothing to say about it. Ishmael quite literally ruined her life. I mean Ahab, but you know. It's to the point that, frankly speaking, there's nothing here to be gained. If not for the fact that Dante kind of gave Ishmael a little bit of an out, she would have just ended up becoming Ahab herself.
Pretty much. Yeah, no,
If not through assimilation through her ego, then definitely becoming the object of her own hatred.
pretty much. If she killed her, there would have been no turning back.
Right. And then, of course, hey, look at that. It's prime OTP. We don't even have to argue this. Ishmael and Queequeg are just there, to the point that it's literally just call me Ishmael once again.
They deserved better.
I'm sorry?
They deserved better.
True enough. It's just like, hey, look at that. You put large, dark women in your game. I'm glad, but I want them to stay there.
Right? It's like to put them there just to kill them. Ishmael and Rodion, true OTP. Peak OTP.
You know what? I could kind of see it in regards to that. It's just like, hey, look at that. They are the ones that are actually staying in the shower. And
Like
not even in a goods and services sense. It's literally didn't Rhodia talk Ishmael down from going full nuclear?
She did. She had a poor person to rich trust fund kid conversation with her about like why people say shit that about being loyal to their jobs, and like Ishmael had a genuine like oh shit moment, and
Yeah.
fucking Rodeo was like like, yeah, no, it's okay. Like I get where you're coming from. Trust me, I agree. But like this is not how normal people talk. She has like a tsundere moment. It's like, don't talk down to me, Rodion, because she's like still pissy. She's in her pissy like murder hangover. But
Yeah.
Rodion like is like, yeah. Like
Who would have thought that honestly, I'm kind of thinking to myself, who would have thought that the perfect person for a former, what is it called, trust fund baby is an ex-card carrying socialist?
We just need to just need to pair them off with each other.
Basic.
But yeah, no. I love Rodion and Ishmael's interactions, and that was kind of one of my favorite ones that made me realize, like, oh wow, there's like something there.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, though, the thing that probably just feels like co-workers, if not kind of hates how much of a little baby man that he is, Ishmael and Sinclair.
Yeah, I'd say coworkers.
They tolerate each other, that's about it.
Pretty much, like, especially after that scene in Canto 5.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, This one can be friends tier, if not a little bit of a rivalry going on, because frankly speaking, it's Grandma's turn to drive the bus.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'd put it in friends.
Mm-hmm. They bond over being sailors, and that's about it.
Pretty much.
And then, have Ishmael and Gregor had any interactions at all?
Besides the interaction with the seagull, I don't know. I don't think so. No.
Look at him. His beady little eyes.
Look at them. Those precious soul-filled eyes.
Exactly.
And Ishmael's just like, you mean seagull eyes?
It really do be like that. Sometimes don't bond over birds. Wait, no, not one-sided. They're co-workers.
No, they're co-workers.
And then Ishmael and Starbuck, which just has me like, why?
Absolutely fucking not. Jesus.
It's just a case of, what the hell are you talking about? This man chose gaslight incarnate over his co-worker who just wants things to end. This is just goods and services with a little bit of spice behind it.
Yeah, if you're into the mommy thing, I could see that.
What if I told you that the quirked up white boy was supposed to get down sexual style for Rhodia?
Those sure were words you just said.
He's not good with the sauce. The sauce is all over the sauce is all over the floor because he dropped his McDonald's Happy Meal in front of 3 tall women. Now, I feel like Rhodia is too easygoing for Otis.
Yeah, no, she'd kind of like hate her like whole like lax vibe, and Rhodia would probably feel like she's kind of a stifling, like, tight ass.
Mm-hmm. It does not work. If Otis ever acquiesced to anything, it could work, but right now it's whatever.
But we can send that to goods and services because, like, MILF on Gil faction.
This sure is a thing that you just said for me to get a scripture redeem off of. Alright, let me see. I need to find a thing. I need to associate myself with a good book. Let's see. Wow, I'm finding nothing good. I'm sorry. Let me see.
It's fine. My soul can't be saved anyways.
Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, and be patient towards all men. Honestly, I feel like that's just a pretty basic virtue if I'm going to be rude with you. Sometimes you really just have to try your hardest for people. Beyond that, though, speaking of trying your hardest, hey, look at that. I don't care what anybody says. This is an OTP.
Absolutely.
Is it just bisexual propaganda? Probably, but at the same time, you gotta understand, the 2 best sinners, they're the ones I keep saying are the ones who've been fucking in the back of the bus in the shower.
100%. Literally,
I'm sorry.
One of Gregor's like G Corp ID is literally talks about how Rodion just keeps sexually harassing him and he's fine with it.
It do be like that, don't it? Sometimes reciprocation is good. Which is to say, hey, look, it's It's her ex. Personally, I'm not even sure how I feel about Sonya. Really did not do much of anything.
I'd say plot rivals because he basically abandoned fucking Radia when he needed her most, and then he like showed up in this fucking weird cult group.
Fair enough. You showed up for a high-stakes poker game, and yet for some reason you still exist. And then moving on to Sinclair, which is to say... This is where it just gets weird, doesn't it? Because he doesn't have much going on for himself, but at the same time, he's had a decent amount of interaction with a little bit of everybody. Which is to say, hey, Demian, you're weird, and as far as I know from the book, you exist mostly just so Sinclair can maybe have an in with your mother.
I'd say good ship because I feel like the relationship between them is like implicitly deeper than we understand.
Right. If anything, it's definitely just like N-Corp Faust, no. Cromer especially, no. Demian feels like if he was able to more or less help Sinclair get himself on good standing with himself for what he had to go through, at least there's something there, but that we haven't seen enough of it yet.
Pretty much.
Now we talk about Cromer, which is to say, hey, why is the Limbus fandom like this?
What's wrong with you guys? Yeah, burning in super hell. I don't think we have to like discuss it that much.
There's no room for grooming on my Christian channel. And then this is just Cromer, but affectionate, isn't it? Mostly just off the idea of there's nothing going on here. Otis kind of just wants Sinclair to shape up as a coworker.
Pretty much. Mentorship.
Mm-hmm. What if you needed a hard-ass lady to teach you how to deal with life? That's just how things are.
She's both training him for his job and for dealing with Ryoshu.
Basically. And then Sinclair and Gregor, which is to say...
That's his son.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. Well, if it isn't the I fixed your bike for you once and then you imprinted on me, brothers. Moving on.
Gregor and Don and Gregor and Sinclair are in both family category.
Basically. And then, hey, look at that. Remember, the Odyssey had a purpose, which is to say, getting back to Otis's wife.
You know what, Otis? If you had just like not accepted that deal and just stayed home, you wouldn't have to get back to your wife.
You gotta understand, Cersei was so... Wait, not even Cersei. I forget who kept him prisoner for 9 years?
Calypso.
Thank you. Cersei came after him. Even though Cersei definitely is the kind of character that makes Noir swoon, I'm over here just thinking to myself, yeah, that sounds accurate. For what it's worth, it belongs in good ship because it's canon.
Absolutely.
Beyond that, though, who else do we have? Otis and Gregor.
No, she's... Again, like, Otis sees everyone as beneath her, so I don't see this working at all.
Right. What about Lil Omi? What is your opinion on Cersei, fake granddaughter? Especially after watching me play Samurai Remnant, but you know. That being said, this is whatever. I'ma be real with you, they interacted for literally half a Canto, so I don't see much. But at the same time, I'm of the mind of, because how the fandom feels about it, Yuri is basically Gregor's daughter.
It's his baby girl.
She's red, like the apple that he uses to smash people with. Even though it's gold, but that's just more trauma. I like how I bring up Cersei to Noir, and he's just like, she's everything to me. Which I guess is fair. I would become a pig if it meant making her happy. Why though? I feel it though. I'm just over here thinking to myself that one episode of the Boondocks where just like, wouldn't let this shit happen to me though. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. Isn't this just plot rivals?
Yeah, it's basically like, I mean, if you really wanted to get to the nitty gritty, it's kind of like a deserter fucking. If you wanted to go AO3 places, it's a deserter being punished by his fucking superior. But yeah, no, it's plot rivals.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be real with you. This is the bug I don't respect. Why? Because he's a war criminal, and he frankly is some bootlicker too. What if I told you G Corp lost the war because, frankly speaking, they kind of just let it happen?
Would you say they didn't want the smoke?
I'm sorry. You said I got one, and I got greedy.
If anything, this is the kind of humor I tend to give to a lot of stuff, so you're more than valid. More important than that, where are we again? I'm more or less just looking at who is this random jobber. I forgot his name. It's been literally 5 contests already.
I actually am not sure.
All I know is I feel as though he feels somewhat bad, but at the same time, it's more just a matter of hero worship at that point.
Oh, it's the random soldier guy
Mm-hmm.
from his like guilt nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's like super. What even the hell?
Who even are you?
Does he even go here?
Where are your parents? I'm gonna call you.
Know if that was.
No, sorry.
All right then. Who put this here? I just want to talk. Who put this here? This is not only plot rivals, it belongs in hell on top of that.
Put that in Ahab mail.
Basically. Okay, so I forgot her name, but at least she was decent to Yuri, you know?
Yeah, no, she is sweet.
They go in co-work. They go in co-workers because I don't think they would be friends, but at the same time, I think that's more just a factor of Hopkins being involved. Bug Mom, that's the thing though. Herman isn't even a G-Corp operative. She has no bug parts. Beyond that though, Yuri and Hopkins.
Absolutely fucking not. This little.
Why though?
Little rat.
Not only was Hopkins disparaging the shit out of her every living second that they had together, he also left her to die.
Yeah, so yeah, burn. He needs to burn in super hell specifically, but in general, he just no.
Right. If anything, I don't see it making sense. These two, on the other hand, they're probably friends, but at the same time, you saw what happened. They work together. They're like Effie and Sod, except Effie and Sod feel like they are effing and Sod, but you know. Then, of course, there is everybody's favorite understanding of old women, Yuri, so that's going in goods and services. Because frankly speaking, it's not canon, but it makes the most sense in the world right now.
I mean, you can't prove that's not what they did immediately after she picked her up, so.
What if you found a badass old lady in the middle of the lake and decided, I'm gonna nurse her back to health? And then there's that one image of that Wordsmith made in a video that's just like me, my wife, and her $5,000 pallet oil plushie. Herman and Guro, though.
Probably. I'm edging towards like either coworkers or like good ship, because I guess, right? Like,
I mean, ideologically they align, I suppose. And she gave him that bitchin' coat, but, you know. I think it could go in good ship just because they just have the same energy. More than that, Herman and Iori, though. Once again, old women, Yuri.
Yeah, goods and services.
There's no fuss, there's no muss. If the purple tier started showing up as a member of N Corp, that would just end the game straight up.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like we are not in a position to fight this woman.
And then, once again, I forgot this man's name. I feel like he's just there for the insurance.
Mister, we have Honglu at home.
We have Honglu at home, and you look and he's got that bitchy little smirk behind him. Alright, let's see here. Herman and Cromer does not work because Cromer is too lost in her own sauce for anything else to basically get there. She's meat.
Yeah, no, if it's not Sinclair, it's not gonna work for Cromer, so.
Right, and her...
Mhm.
I genuinely just feel like, if not for the fact that she is useful to N Corp, Herman would just immediately eject her from life itself.
Pretty much, she'd just empty equipment. This is
Alright, then whatever tier to that. Herman and Sonia also feels like whatever, just on the idea that I think he just kind of gave her that vow and gift, you know?
pretty much. Like, we have not heard head nor tail from this guy since Canto 2.
Effie and Sod are just Effie and Sod. They work together, they live together. Apparently, they live together, even though we are under the impression that Sod died, but you know.
Sod did die. Apparently, they were partners, like, romantically speaking.
Alright,
So,
then.
that's just canon.
If it's canon, it's canon. They work together, they live together, they died apart. And then I forget this man's name.
That's the scrungly guy that we saved, Tommy, I think.
I remember his name. He definitely does feel like he respects Sod, but at the same time, it's mostly just a matter of their co-workers.
Co-workers, yeah.
I think he got a promotion after. You, I do not know.
That's God, I forgot her name. Cayman, I think. The LCCA operative that like basically took a big dumpy on the Sinners.
There. I'm all about the Noir and Kyo ship. Honestly, you two seem like fast friends. I appreciate it. I don't ship real people, though, but you get my point. More, let's see, you are just... You
Beating
work
each other
for...
with hammers.
Oh. Well,
I think-
yeah, you know more than me at this point.
Like there's not much between them, but like I feel like Effie, like Saudi would hate this bitch. Like
Fair enough.
she like she seemingly looks down on all the other departments. Especially the Limbus centers, but like after what she went through, having to deal with like the idea of like an after crew who gets to come in after everything's said and done, I think she would hold them in very fucking high regard.
Yeah, that sounds about right. If anything, I guess it makes sense in that regard. I just haven't finished the Intervallo yet, which, again, I feel like until Canto VI comes out, it's just gonna sit there because I kind of play this game for the sake of having stream content. I really like the story, it's just I don't have a lot of time to dissect it on my own.
It's fair.
Demian and Rim, though.
I guess. Like these are two characters we know very little about. Like
It's really just a case of I can't even put you in goods and services because Demian looks exactly the same as he did in high school, so I'm just gonna go with co-workers.
co-workers, yeah, that works. It's like we don't really have many interactions with these guys with the Sinners, much less each other.
Exactly. They show up apart, they show up together. No, they do not. Demian and Sonia does not exist.
No. Just burning
This
your
is-
brow.
This is quite literally just what are you talking about? You're just seeing two men together and immediately wanting them to kiss. Beyond that, though, Cromer and Damien feels like a hate ship.
Pretty much, like, this seems like an AU where, like, Damien's fucking powers failed, and, like, Cromer takes him as, like, a weird slave.
I'm just thinking to myself, you eat the SpaghettiOs that make you racist, and I guess that's just how it is. They go and beating each other with hammers. Cromer and Guido. I'm gonna be honest. No?
One-sided.
Okay, fair enough. I was just gonna go. It could go in goods and services just off the idea of this is the thing that people tend to do on social media. They see the woman in charge and just go, ah, yes, this guy who is quite literally just the meat hammer. And this could be a decent pairing. It's really not that decent.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, like, you could put it in goods and services because, like, having a meat slave does seem like a Cromer thing to do. But, like, realistically, while Guido is devoted to the one who grips, like, fucking Cromer could give a shit less about this guy.
Right. Not good enough to just be the de-stress tool is how this reads.
Pretty much.
On the other hand, Dongrong and Alfonso.
Shit, one-sided.
Hmm.
Like,
Sounds
maybe. Yeah,
and
maybe on Dongrong. Sorry.
It's Green Greens from Kirby. Honestly, it's just a matter of, on one hand, I could see it making sense on the idea that I think Dongrong is just there to make sure that he can afford to eat. On the other, I feel like Alfonso would get too much of a kick out of kicking him while he's down.
Pretty much. It'd, like, just be a super toxic ship if it was, like, a thing.
Alright then. The CEO of Cricket Mobile can go in one-sided. Dongrong and Dongbike is an immediate no considering what he did to her.
Burning in super hell, that one.
Basically. No amount of leaps in logic can make that work. She called him a traitor and she immediately manifested ego. There's no going back from that. And then of course there's also me looking at Dongrong and Samjo and just going, it's one-sided if not burning in hell.
Yeah, it's a one-sided toxic ship. It literally did not give a fuck as this man boiled in, like, life heal juice. Exactly.
It's literally just a matter of you're doing it for the company, not for me. Dongrong and Shren.
Absolutely fucking not. That woman is a lesbian.
Garbage. Dongrong and woman whose name I don't remember, but I know she is Shren's love interest.
For obvious reasons, also burning in super hell.
Why? Because Shren got killed by the She Association because of her?
Oh. Sorry, I thought you said Dongrong, and...
No, Dongrong's already in Burning in Hell.
Oh. Oh, if that's her love interest, good ship, right?
I mean, again, this is a little bit one-sided, and she got killed as a result.
You know what? Fair enough.
Granted, it's been... I will give Dino Dave this much credit. Canto IV does feel a little bit fillerish, but at the same time, what happens to Shren still feels like a kick in the teeth for whatever's going on, you know? I will have to re-engage with that part of it at some point, but at the same time, one-sided until I know better.
No, fair enough.
Ahab and the Indigo Elder just feels like, what if we went to the retirement home together and we were both kind of... What if we were both kind of shitty?
Give this old man some extent.
Alright then, based on that, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely whatever. or hate this, depending on if you could stomach these two old people fucking.
On one hand, it's more just a matter that Ahab is just the worst.
Pretty much. It's like,
Speaking of that, hey, look at that. Ahab and Queequeg immediately go in Ahab mail tier.
oh my god, Ahab male. Absolutely, holy shit.
It's, what's that? Your ex, more or less, has to kill you and because of your captain? Sounds right. The same can be said for Starbuck. Nothing
Honestly,
yet.
if Ahab intuited like the relationship between Queequeg and fucking Ishmael, I feel like that's something she would do.
What, pit them against each other because true love can't exist on the sea?
Either that or just like fuck Queequeg because she knows Queequeg won't say no.
Now, is this because of her cutting her tongue off or because of, I don't know, pride in the Pequod?
Yeah, no, essentially it's implied that Ahab has this like preternatural like charisma that basically subsumes everyone's will. That's what her ego is. It's a manifestation of her ability to just subsume people's will and make it her own.
So it's if Dia was a Project Moon character.
Basically. Yeah, no. So like, yeah, no. At the point that Ishmael reunited with Queequeg, she was broken. She would have done and did do whatever Ahab said. So Ahab spite cucking her is not like out of the realm for like a frankly evil character like this, and I feel like she would do it.
All right, then, fair enough. Now, Jun and Ricardo makes absolutely no sense to me.
Nope, that goes in whatever.
It's whatever. This is just doing it because you see two men and want them to kiss.
Pretty much.
Which is to say, hey, funny Kurakumo guy from Ruin I don't remember.
Co-workers / mentorship?
I mean, they are both Kurakumo, so I guess that makes sense. Jun and Sayo, though. Which is to say, hey, everybody wants a Sayo ID. I'm over here thinking to myself, listen, I don't think her shoulders can take it.
Look, I'm just holding my breath for Sayo Mail. Okay.
I mean, Grant, again, it's just a matter of this is your realm of expertise, this entire bottom list.
I don't know. Sayo seems like she'd fuck around, so they probably fucked at one point.
All right, then, goods and services it is. Next, we have another Kurakumo staffer, which again tells me nothing.
Workers.
All right, then, co-workers it is, because frankly speaking, we will get to that when we get to that. And then we have Angu and Kim, which I feel like probably is either super de-duper grody or probably goods and services. Depends on where we're at.
The implication from the intervallo is that she has a deep respect for Kim. I don't know that it quite meets like a romantic desire or admiration, but she definitely feels something for this person. So I would say like family, coworker, or maybe good ship. We really don't know that much about Kim.
Fair enough. I'm just gonna look at it and go, it's a bamboo-headed mentorship, maybe.
That works too, actually.
He just looks at you like the blue eyes and just go, yeah. Now, I just know that Kim Jun exists because people want these two to fuck, let's be real.
I don't understand why. As far as Kim understands, that guy is a fucking monster.
Mhm. What's that?
Um,
What if the Blade lineage was the affectionate syndicate and the Kurikuma was the derogatory syndicate?
I mean, that kind of literally is how it works.
Hmm. It paints itself by the way the man looks like Virgil. And if there's anything I know about Virgil, it's the idea that, frankly speaking, he really is just a lame duck who kind of just sort of made himself the main villain of the entire series after Mundus.
Basically.
And that's mostly just off the idea that Dante and Virgil are actually just Cain and Abel.
Originals.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, we have Angu and Jun, which just makes me think, based on vibes alone, that's a no.
Yeah, that's a plot rivals. Like this guy is literally the thing standing between her and the and bamboo headed Cam. So like no. Again, in AO3 world, maybe goods and services, but otherwise plot rivals.
No, unacceptable.
Bit of a sour end, but at the same time, hey, look at that. That's everything covered in the Project Moon universe up to Canto 5.5, so I think we're doing pretty good for ourselves.
Yahoo, we did it.
Imagine that. Somehow much, much, much shorter than my FGO tier list. And I wonder why. If anything, it's more just a matter of, hey, look at that. Again, it's mostly just a matter of an enigma in regards to a number of characters, because we haven't seen enough of them yet, and I imagine we're not going to for a good while.
Pretty much.
You gotta remember, this small indie dev Project Moon is more or less just doing this for the sake of, I want money for the sake of the ability to make real games again, and I feel that deeply.
Yeah. Hopefully their next game is a little better designed.
I feel that deep down in my soul. Because I'll be honest with you, hair coupons out of 10 makes me upset.
Also, you're gonna love June. He's not Ricardo bad, but he's pretty fucking annoying. Unless you've already run into him in Mirror Dungeon, in which case my condolences.
Thankfully, I have not, but then again, I still haven't gotten a W in Mirror Dungeon hard, so I'm gonna have to do some looking into stuff for sure.
Well, if you need help, let me know.
Mm-hmm. If anything, though, do you have any send-offs for the chat? In fact, you know what? Do you feel like shilling yourself a little bit as you're building yourself up?
Sure, everything is kind of like bare bones and in its infancy at the moment, but if you want to catch me on Twitter, you can find me at Malkia's Mafia VT. That's MALKIA.
Give me a second here. I'm typing that out.
_ Mafia MAFIA VT.
Alright, I hope I spelled that correctly. Or rather, I wish I didn't put that underscore in there, but still.
Otherwise, it's fine.
Alrighty then. If anything, I have to assess my schedule in the coming days, but at the same time, collab season probably will just be more No More Heroes on Tuesday with Belle Umber, and I kind of feel as though I'm hoping to see more of where that goes. I know she's struggling with Holly Summers, so that's going to be fun to watch later, but if anything, I think the thing I want to focus on come Friday might be Unicorn Overlord, but we'll see how that goes. I hear very good things, especially from Saku in regards to that.
Oh, that sounds fun. I'll try to pop in for that as well.
Mm-hmm. If anything, it's just like, hey, look at that, every bathead is welcome if they feel like collaborating or just talking on stream with me, because admittedly, that's kind of the thing I enjoy the most, just, hey, you want to shoot the shit while we're going over stuff? You're welcome to it.
Absolutely. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And of course, hey, look at that. Somehow we are already 6 followers away from hitting that 300 goal. So at the same time, hey, those of you who did follow, if you want to join the server, you're welcome to it. I promise I will make more stuff as I go along, but I need to figure some stuff out. I still really want to get the Megara watch along again, but again, I will figure it out in the next couple of days. But even still, I need to find a raid target. If anything, that's the thing I also want people to recommend me. I kind of need to find shoutout targets in, well, raid targets in this time slot, but it's rough, you know?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Let me see here. I wish to make it make sense.
Is Kako streaming right now?
I don't think Kako actually is streaming. In fact, I think she kind of just did more lethal because she said there was more stuff to show off.
Gotcha.
Let me see. I wish Twitch was capable of actually engaging with actual tools for this kind of stuff.
It would be nice for Twitch to be less antagonistic toward its user base, but here we are.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm just gonna send you off to Grandpa. I think I haven't done anything with them in a while, and they're currently streaming New Vegas, and I hear good things about that. So if anything, thank you for joining me in this case of we're going to talk about weird, quirky people in the game that people don't play because it's gacha and it's indie, but frankly, I'm glad people enjoy it all the same.
Absolutely. It's been like I said, it's been a pleasure just to kind of go off and ramble like an insane person. So I appreciate you for putting me the platform.
Naturally, if I know you and I like you, you will get what you deserve. So, regardless of that, my name has been Megiddo Ichi, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Stay safe, drink water, understand that if you read, you might get good things out of it. His knowledge is power, and I'll see you all again in the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Goodbye.